Yes, very good morning, students. Give me a minute. Okay. So students, I'm very much live. Very good morning, first of all. Yes, very good morning, students. आई एम श्योर आप रेडी हैं आज के अमेजिंग रिवीजन सेशन के लिए, क्योंकि आज हम लोग वो टॉपिक्स कवर करने वाले हैं जिसमें आने वाला है बेटा आपका सर्विस सेक्टर कॉस्टिंग, स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग एंड बजट. ओके, यस यस यस, वेरी वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग अभिजीत, रोहित, आर्या, समिता, श्रेया, संमिता, वैष्णवी. वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग ऑल अदर्स. लेट एवरीबडी ज्वाइन. Okay, so we'll be starting with the problem. Okay, we'll be starting with the session. बेटा हमारे प्रीवियस सेशन में हमारा लेक्चर थोड़ा सा एब्रप्टली एंड हमें करना पड़ा था क्योंकि द पेन वाज गिविंग सम इश्यूज दैट टाइम, राइट. सो उस टाइम पे हमारा मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग का टॉपिक जो है वो पूरा कंप्लीट नहीं हो पाया था. मुझे एक क्वेश्चन और करवाना था उसमें, स्पेशली विद रिस्पेक्ट टू डिसीजन मेकिंग. ओके, तो वो आज हम लोग वहां से ही शुरुआत कर लेते हैं सो दैट मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग हमारा एंड हो जाएगा. देन वी कैन मूव अहेड विद द रिमेनिंग चैप्टर्स. ओके, then we can move ahead with the remaining chapters. So मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग का बाकी सब कुछ तो हमारा रिवाइज हो गया था, जैसे एंगल ऑफ इंसिडेंस वगैरह हो गया, वो सारे फॉर्मुलेज हो गए, बराबर है. अब आगे बढ़ते हैं बेटा, एप्लीकेशन ऑफ सीवीपी एनालिसिस, कॉस्ट वॉल्यूम प्रॉफिट एनालिसिस इन डिसीजन मेकिंग. तो डिसीजन मेकिंग में इसका क्या एप्लीकेशन होता है? तो सबसे पहले तो बेटा आपको प्रॉब्लम्स आइडेंटिफाई करना है, उन्हें इवैल्यूएट, उसमें ऑप्शंस क्या क्या है वो आइडेंटिफाई करने हैं, ऑप्शंस को इवैल्यूएट करना है और सही ऑप्शन को सिलेक्ट भी करना होता है. ये चार फेजेस में बढ़ता है. मतलब यहां पर आपको एग्जैक्टली क्या करना है मैं आपको ये चीज समझा दूं. बेटा यहां पर आपको बहुत सारी सिचुएशंस दी जाएंगी. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मान लेते हैं हमारे पास तीन मशीन्स है, तो एक मशीन के आवर्स लिमिटेड हैं, या हमारे पास लेबर है तो लेबर के आवर्स लिमिटेड है, या रॉ मटेरियल्स की शॉर्टेज है, या आपको एक एक्सपोर्ट ऑर्डर आ जाएगा, पूछा जाएगा कि इसे करना है या नहीं करना है. ठीक है, तो ऐसी बहुत सारी सिचुएशंस हमारे पास आएंगी और वो सिचुएशंस में हमें डिसीजंस लेने हैं, और उसके लिए हम ये मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग का टॉपिक जो है बेटा वो यूज करने वाले हैं. ठीक है ना, उसके लिए बेटा हम लोग क्या करने वाले हैं, ये मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग जो है वो हम लोग यूज करेंगे. अब इसे कैसे किया जाता है ये मैं आपको, स्पेशली जो कंस्ट्रेंट वाले प्रॉब्लम्स है इनका एग्जाम में आने का थोड़ा प्रोबेबिलिटी ज्यादा होता है. तो बेटा मैं यहाँ पे आपको जो क्वेश्चन नंबर 10 यहाँ पर दिख रहा है, उसमें वो कंस्ट्रेंट वाला पार्ट कैसे सॉल्व होता है, सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट वही पार्ट है, उसके ऊपर हम लोग अभी डिस्कशन करेंगे और उसके बाद आगे बढ़ेंगे. ओके, सो लेट अस स्टार्ट विद द सेशन. Illustration number 10. Moon Limited produces products X, Y, and Z and has decided to analyze its production mix in respect of the three products X, Y, Z. X, Y, Z आपको दिया हुआ है बेटा, डायरेक्ट मटेरियल्स पर यूनिट इज 160, 120 एंड 80. वेरिएबल ओवरहेड्स आपको दिए गए तीनों के, डायरेक्ट लेबर दिया गया है. डिपार्टमेंट ए के बेटा रेट है 4 रुपीज पर आवर, और आपको एक्स को बनाने को 6 घंटा लगता है, वाई को बनाने को 10 घंटा लगता है, जेड को बनाने को 5 घंटा लगता है. डिपार्टमेंट बी में रेट पर आ रहे 8 रुपए, और उसको एक्स को बनाने को 6 घंटा लगता है, वाई को बनाने को 15 घंटा लगता है, और जेड को बनाने को 11 घंटा लगता है. फ्रॉम द करंट बजट फर्दर डिटेल्स आर एज फॉलोज. एनुअल प्रोडक्शन अभी का क्या दिया गया है वो आप देख सकते हैं, 10,000, 12,000, 12,000. एस्टिमेटेड सेलिंग प्राइस पर यूनिट जो है वो है 312, 400 और 240. सेल्स डिपार्टमेंट एस्टिमेट ऑफ पॉसिबल सेल्स इन कमिंग ईयर, अगले साल कितना सेल्स हमारा एस्टिमेट है वो भी आपको दिया गया है, 12,000, 16,000, 24,000. There is a constraint on supply of labor in department A and its manpower cannot be increased beyond its present level. तो आप प्रेजेंट लेवल के ऊपर जो है मैन पावर को नहीं लेकर जा सकते. आइडेंटिफाई द बेस्ट पॉसिबल मिक्स ऑफ मून लिमिटेड एंड कैलकुलेट द टोटल कंट्रीब्यूशन फ्रॉम द बेस्ट पॉसिबल प्रोडक्ट मिक्स. ओके, सो आपका कितना कंट्रीब्यूशन हो सकता है वो आपको पूछा गया है. ठीक है, सो अब इस क्वेश्चन को सबसे पहले तो हैंडल कैसे करना है, तो आपको ये पता करना पड़ता है कि विच इज द कंस्ट्रेंट. ओके, कौन सा फैक्टर ऐसा है जिसपे कंस्ट्रेंट है. ठीक है, सो वी मस्ट आइडेंटिफाई दैट. नाउ when we are trying to identify the constraint, okay, remember that Understand, whenever we are trying to do that constraint part, there is a given condition in the question. See this, there is a constraint on supply of labor in department A. They have clearly specified that there is a constraint on supply of labor in department A. So department A is the bottleneck, right? Department A is the bottleneck. Department A is basically the constraint factor, limiting factor. Okay, so now we must analyze the entire question from the viewpoint of A, because A is in limited capacities. Okay, A we are having in a limited capacity. So our major concern will be like department A should be used very wisely, and its hours should be utilized to generate the optimum amount of contribution, to generate the maximum amount of contribution. So department A's hours have to be analyzed very, very carefully. Now they have given in the question that the constraint on A is there and its manpower cannot be increased beyond its level. Now first thing what you will have to do is how to solve this question. See, understand the sequence. First thing, calculate the contribution from each and every product X, Y, Z. Now then, because there is a constraint of labor in department A, divided by the hours which it requires in department A, and the product which generates the maximum contribution per hour of department A will be the one which has to be utilized, which has to be made first. Now understand the sequence. First of all, everybody do calculate the contribution per unit of X, Y, and Z. Come on, this is the first thing you have to calculate, contribution per unit of X, Y, and Z. Now, sir, how to calculate contribution? So sales minus obviously all the variable expenses. Selling prices have been given 312, 400, and 240. Come on, I'll also solve it with you, so don't worry about it. There's no problem even if we spend time on this, because this is a very important topic. So X, Y, and Z, I'm having three products, right? X, Y, and Z, I'm having three products. What is the selling price? So 312, 400, 240. 312, 400, and I have 240. That's the selling price. Now I have to reduce all the variable cost. First is materials. First is materials. 160, 120, 80. 160, 120, 80. I have to reduce this. Variable overheads is given and direct labor obviously is given. So direct labor first I'll reduce. Sir, what is direct labor? See, in department A, X requires 6 hours, right? In department A, direct labor is the heading, in which department A, as you can see, hello, yeah. Yeah, so department A requires 6 hours per unit at the rate of 4 rupees per hour. So 6 into 4, the total department A's labor will be 24 rupees. Similarly, Y requires 10 hours of the rate 4, so 40 rupees. And Z requires 5 hours of the rate 4, 5 fours are 20. 5 fours are 20. Similarly, department B, 6 hours at the rate of 8 per hour. So 6 eights are 48. 15 eights are 120. If there are any calculation errors of mine, please do let me know, okay? That is possible that I can conduct some calculation mistakes, okay? So 11 into 8, that is 88, because I am trying to do it everything orally. Then I'll subtract the variable overheads also per unit, that is 8, 20, and 12. So 8, 20, 12. So I have subtracted all the variable expenses. Now students, calculate the contribution per unit. Come on, it's up to you now. Come on, calculate the contribution per unit. Subtract all the variable expenses. Now you can get the contribution per unit. Come on, contribution per unit. Come on, calculate all this and tell me what is the contribution per unit. Calculate the contribution per unit. So I think this is having 72. Then this is earning 100 rupees, I guess. Earning, I guess, 40 rupees. Just check the calculations one more time. Yes, everybody, your answers are correct. Siddesh, Samhita, Sanmitha, Shikha, Vaishnavi, Shreya, your answers are correct. Now, students, how we know we have calculated the contribution per unit. This is the first thing what you have to do. The second thing what you have to do is, because there is a constraint in department A, calculate the contribution per hour of department A. So they require 6, 10 and 5 hours, 6 hours, 10 hours and 5 hours, hours in department A, hours in department A, 6, 10 and 5. Now calculate contribution per hour of department A. Contribution per hour of department A. Come on. Now how to do this? Like this is generating to 72 rupees contribution and it is requiring only 6 hours in A. So 72 upon 6, it requires like per hour in department A, I am able to generate 12 hours of contribution. 100 upon 10 will give me 10 and 45 are the 40 upon 5, that is 8. Okay, 40 upon 5, that is 8. So I have got like for every hour in department A, the product X generates 12 hours. Okay, the product X generates 12 rupees of contribution. For every hour in department Y, for every hour in department A, this product Y generates 10 rupees of contribution, and for every hour in department A, this Z generates rupees 8 of the contribution. Okay, this product Z generates rupees 8 of the contribution per hour. So this is how it works. Okay, now we have got the ranking. Like obviously this X is generating 12 rupees contribution per hour of department A. So this has to be produced first. Okay, this has to be produced first, and then you must produce Y, and then you must produce Z. So this should be the sequence. Okay, this should be the sequence. Remember that. Okay, first you produce X, then you produce Y, and then you produce Z. So follow that sequence. Okay, your answers are correct. Perfect. Now students, I have done the ranking. So ranking will be, I'll produce this first, then this second, and this to be third. Now some of you, if you can see, the total contribution generated by 1 unit of Y is 100 rupees. Okay, the total contribution generated by per unit of Y is 100 rupees. However, it is ranking on the second place. The total contribution generated by X is only 72, but still it is on the first place because per hour it is generating the maximum amount of contribution. Now students, I have understood that which one I have to produce first. But the problem is they have not specified how many hours are actually available in department A. Okay, so they have not given in the question how many hours are there in department A. Now, how to do this? They have told you its manpower cannot be increased beyond its present level. So, calculate what is the present level of department A. Now, we are producing at present 10,000 units of X, 12,000 units of Y, and 20,000 units of Z. We all know this X requires 6 hours in A, this 12 requires 10 hours, 12,000 Y hours requires Y unit required 10 hours in what do you say department A. This Z requires 5 hours in department A. Now everybody do calculate. Like I am producing 10,000 units which requires 6 hours in A. I am producing 12,000 units which requires 10 hours in A. I am producing 20,000 units of Z which requires 5 hours in A. Now do multiply and add up to calculate how many hours are actually available with me of department A. What is the current utilization level? Come on, calculate. I hope you have understood. They have given annual production at present, which is 10,000, 12,000 and 20,000. That is my annual production. Okay, that is my annual production. Now, with this annual production, understand that is the annual production, and this requires this hours for every unit in this one. Okay, I'll simply multiply it and add it up to get the output level, to get the current, what is the number of hours we are using it. So 10,000 into 6 is 60,000, 12,000 into 10, that is 1,20,000, and 20,000 into 5, that is 1 lakh. So I think the total is coming, Arya, Abhijit, your answers are correct. The total is coming there is 2,80,000 hours. We are at present working with 2,80,000 hours. Sanmita, Shreya, Sriraksha, everybody, your answers are correct. Okay, so at present we are working with 2,80,000 hours. So how we got this is, we'll just multiply this. Now I'll tell you something. I'm directly telling you, so it is looking very easy, but when you actually do it on your own, it is very challenging, that you yourself have to calculate how many hours are there actually. So what will you do if you have to calculate that? You will simply multiply the current production with the current number of hours. Okay, current hours per unit, you just multiply, you will add it up and you will get 2,80,000. Absolutely perfect. Shreya, Siddesh, Vaishnavi, Kirti. Okay, your answers are correct. Now students, I have got that I'll have 2,80,000 hours, okay, of this department A. Now we have already done the ranking that I'll produce product X first. Now X department will have this demand in the next one. So 12,000 units I'll be making for X. Okay, this is my first preference. I'll utilize my hours to produce 12,000 units of X. So 12,000 into 6 hours. So 12,000 into 6. Obviously, I am having 2,80,000 hours. I am having 2,80,000 hours. I'll utilize how much? I'll produce 12,000 units at the rate of 6 per hour. So 72,000 hours for X. 12,000 units. Okay, for X, I'll generate 12,000 units and 72,000 hours will be done. So minus 72,000, so 2,08,000 hours will be still left, right? 2,08,000 hours will be still left with me. Now students, which one I will produce? My ranking in the second one is obviously Y. So I'll be producing Y now. Now what is the demand for Y? Y is having 16,000 demand. It requires 10 hours for per unit. So 16,000 into 10, 1,60,000 is the requirement. I'm having that many hours. So 1,60,000 hours will be given to Y to produce 16,000 units. To produce 16,000 units. Now I'll be left with only 48,000 hours. Can you tell me how many units of Z will I produce? How many units of Z will I produce? Can I produce the 24,000? No, because 24,000 into 5 is 1,20,000 hours. I don't have that many hours, right? So how many units of product Z will be made? How many units of product Z will be made? Come on, do calculate, guys. So 48,000, every unit of Z requires 5 hours. Very good, Shika, Arya. So 5 hours for every unit divided by 5. So 48,000 hours I'll utilize for Z, and I'll be able to produce 48,000 divided by 5, 9,600 units of Z. So this is how I have to calculate my optimum product mix. Okay, and especially when there are some constraints given in the question. Perfect students. Everybody, your answers are correct. Okay, Shreya, Sriraksha, Sanmitha, Kirti, Omkar, everybody, your answers are absolutely perfect. Okay, so now students, as you can see, we have got the answer. Siddesh, your answer is correct. So we have got the answer. We have identified the best product, best possible product mix. And once you multiply it by the contribution per unit, you'll easily get the total contribution from the best product mix. Okay. So I hope all of you have understood the sequence. Whenever there is a constraint given, what will you do is calculate the contribution per unit, okay, and divide it by the hours of the constraint. Okay, calculate the contribution per unit of the constraint. Okay, like I have calculated contribution per hour of department A. So per hour of that constraint, okay, per unit of that constraint, calculate the contribution. Whichever is going to give you the highest contribution, produce that first, and then what you will do is you will try to identify the remaining resources for the other ones. Okay, like that. So this is how you solve the question, especially based on constraints. This is what actually I wanted to teach you. Okay, and this special order questions and all that, I'll just tell you simply one thing. Suppose if you get a special order, okay, I'll tell you something. If you get a special order, and even if your fixed overheads are already recovered, your fixed overheads are already recovered at your current capacities, and if you're receiving one extra order, then what you have to look at is, if you are able to recover more than the marginal cost, that is more than the variable cost, if you are recovering even 1 rupee extra, accept the special order. Okay, accept the special order even if you are recovering at least 1 rupee from that. Just give me a second. Okay, so now we have done this. Okay, this was the question what we actually I wanted to teach you that day itself. Okay, so remember like the special order concept. Okay, first of all, remember that if you are able to recover even 1 rupee extra from the variable cost, okay, after above variable cost, even if you are able to recover a single rupee, remember you must accept the special order provided your total fixed overheads are already recovered. And whenever you are accepting the special order or the export order, it should not disturb your current market. Okay, if you are suppose in the current market, in the domestic market, you are selling at a higher price. Okay, when you are getting a special order from outside India, there should be a restriction that the special guys, that the export order, they will not place the same product in the domestic market. They will not be able to sell those same products in our domestic market. So that should be a constraint. So this is more or less from the chapter that is marginal costing. Now, one more concept in this one will be, actually you will be asked, okay, what you will be asked is, you will have to calculate the profits under the marginal costing and the absorption costing and try to make a reconciliation of it. Okay, so solve for marginal costing, make a marginal cost statement, make an absorption cost statement, and then try to reconcile the profits between these two. Okay, so this is one more question which can be asked in your exams. Okay, so but whenever you are doing this, you should understand like when exactly there will be difference between marginal costing and absorption costing. First of all, see, in marginal costing and in absorption costing, administrative overheads and selling overheads always go to P&L. So that is not the problem. The problem will arise with the manufacturing overheads. Okay, the problem will arise with the manufacturing overheads. Sir, why problem will arise with manufacturing overheads? Because in absorption costing, what happens is the manufacturing overheads, which are fixed as well as variable, both are included in the cost of production. But in marginal costing, only and only variable manufacturing overheads are included in the cost of production. So this is where the problem happens. Okay, so understand the reason first. In absorption costing, fixed and manufacturing both, fixed and variable, both types of manufacturing overheads are included in the cost of production. But in marginal costing, only variable manufacturing overheads are included in the cost of production. Fixed manufacturing overheads generally go to P&L account. Okay, and that is where the difference will happen, and you just have to show it to them by reconciling. That's it. And there are some cases where actually there will be no gap between the profits of marginal and absorption. First of all, if there are no opening and closing stocks, if there are no opening stocks, no closing stocks, obviously everything is already gone to P&L, be it absorption costing or marginal costing, profits will come same. If opening stock is equal to the closing stock, then also the profits under both the section is going to be the same. However, if the closing stock is more than the opening stock, what will happen? If closing stock is more than the opening stock, then there is going to be a difference. Profit as per absorption approach will be higher than the marginal approach. In simple words, if I talk, if closing stock is more than opening stock, then closing stock as per absorption costing will be higher, and the profits as per absorption costing will be higher. Similarly, if opening stock is more than the closing stock, then profit shown by absorption costing will be lower, closing stock shown by the absorption costing will be lower, okay, or I can say profits as per the absorption costing will be lower. And in the other words, I can say profits as per marginal costing are going to be higher. Okay, so these are the cases, these are the things which you must understand. And I'll tell you one thing, there's a format to do this. When you will be calculating the income statements under absorption costing and income statements under marginal costing. Okay, this format has been recently revised, so please remember this format. Okay, other things are very easy. The only thing will be under over absorption, okay, which is going to be something interesting to remember. Sales you have to take, we are making an income statement, right? This is not a cost sheet, we are making an income statement. So obviously in the top there should be sales, and then I'll be reducing the expenses. This is absorption costing, so I know fixed and variable both manufacturing overheads are to be reduced. So direct material consumed, direct labor, variable manufacturing overhead, fixed manufacturing overhead. So I got the cost of production, and I'll add the opening FG less closing FG, I'll get the cost of goods sold. Okay, and this cost of goods sold, I'll adjust it with the under over absorption of the manufacturing overheads, and then administration and selling as it is in totality, and I get the total cost of sales. So from this, just reduce this, you will get the profits. Okay, so that is how the format under absorption costing is. Now, how does it differ from marginal costing? In marginal costing, this will not come. In marginal costing, fixed manufacturing overheads are not included in the cost. Plus, there will be a concept of contribution. See this, sales minus variable cost, I get material, labor, and then variable manufacturing overheads. So there we haven't reduced the fixed manufacturing overheads. So I get the cost of goods produced. I add the opening FG less closing FG, and then I get the cost of goods sold. Add variable administration and selling and distribution overheads. I get the total variable cost. So add selling and distribution cost, which is again a variable expense only. So I'll from sales, if I reduce this, I'll get the contribution, which is sales minus total variable cost and less all the fixed cost. Okay, and then I'll get the net profit. This is how I make for the marginal costing. Okay, this is how we make for the marginal costing. So this is the format. So you can just follow the formats and then try to reconcile. The difference will be only and only in the fixed production overheads. Okay, always and always. Whenever you try to do this, the difference will be in the opening stocks, closing stocks, and the overheads. That's it. Okay, so just compare those and done. Okay, that will be done more or less. So questions are very easy. Just see for the opening stock valuations, closing stock valuation, there and there only you will find the differences. If opening stocks are closing and closing stocks are nil, the profits under absorption marginal costing will be same. If the opening stock and closing stock are equal, then also both the profits will be same. But if the closing stock is more, then absorption costing will show a higher profit. If the opening stock is more, then marginal costing will show a higher profit. Those are the simple 4 rules that we have to remember. Now, coming to the next chapter, and that is service costing. Students, today we are going to take one of the most important chapters, that is standard costing too, okay, of which many students are actually afraid, but we'll be following some charts which will make it very, very easy for us. Now, students, this is the chapter service costing. Okay, students. So service costing of for the service sectors or operating costing, I can say. Here I am having a lot of service sector organizations like transport, hotel, lodges, hospitals, IT and IT enabled services, toll roads, educational institutions, insurance, financial institutions, and whatnot. So these are all service sector organizations, and we have to do the costing for them. Okay, so whenever you are doing it for the service sectors, okay, always remember that you have to follow composite cost units. What you have to follow is composite cost units. So what are composite cost units? Basically where two units are given, like a passenger kilometer, quintal kilometer, or ton kilometer. Okay, when especially in transport cases, I'll be using, in public transportation it will be passenger kilometer, but in goods carriage it will be quintal kilometer or ton kilometer. What does it mean? One passenger 1 kilometer is passenger kilometer. For 1 quintal and 1 kilometer, what is the cost? Like quintal kilometer and 10 kilometers, like that. Similarly, for electricity supply services, I'll be using kWh, that's cost per kilowatt hour. Hospitals per patient per day, per room per day, like that. Canteen per item per meal. Hotels is per guest per day, like that. Banks and financial institutions I can be using per transaction, per service, like that. Educational institutions, it can be per student, per batch, per lecture, per hour, kind of. In IT and IT enabled services, cost per project, cost per module, etc. In insurance, per policy, per claim, per third party administrator, okay, like that. So this kind of cost units can be used for the operating for the service sector industries. So first composite cost unit will be like 10 kilometers or passenger kilometers. So 10 kilometers, especially when we are calculating, there can be two ways of doing that. One is absolute, which is the most important, and absolute is generally what is used. That is weight into distance, weight into distance, weight into distance, take on total. So that is going to give you absolute basis. And second is commercial basis, where you will do the simple average. Take the simple average of the weights which is being carried and just multiply it with the total distance. So that is the simple average method. Okay, so it's very simple. Like, see, there is a question, illustration number 1. A lorry starts with a load of 20 metric tons from station A. It unloads 8 metric ton at B and balance goods at C. On return trip, it reaches station A with a load of 16 metric ton loaded at C. The distance between A to B, B to C, and C to A are 80, 120, and 160 kilometers respectively. Compute absolute metric ton kilometer and commercial metric ton kilometer. Now, how do I calculate the absolute metric ton kilometer? See, it starts with a load of 20 metric ton. I must make a chart for this. I must make up a chart for this. So let's say this is A to B, B to C, like that. Okay. So what happens is A starts with a load of 20 metric ton from station A. It unloads 8 tons at B. So it starts with 20. Okay. It unloads 8. So it will move ahead with 12. Okay. On return trip, it reaches station A with a load of 60 metric ton. It reaches entirely like this, 16 metric tons. The distance between A to B, B to C, and C to A. Okay, directly C to A is given. Okay, so C to A is how much? 16, right? On a return trip, it reaches station A with a load of 16 metric tons loaded at station C. Distance of A to B is 80 kilometers. Just write with the pen. So 80 is the distance. 120 is the distance between B to C, and C to A is 160 kilometers. Now I have to calculate the absolute 10 kilometer and commercial 10 kilometer. It's very simple. Absolute is 20 into 80 plus 120 into 12 plus 160 into 16. So what you have to do is you have to multiply the kilometers. You will have to multiply the kilometers with the weights which are carried, and you'll simply add them. See this, 20 into 80, 12 into 120, and 160 into 16. Just add them up, you get the absolute 10 kilometers or the weighted average. Okay, so weighted average 10 kilometers. Now if I want a simple average, What I'll do is take the average of the quantities 20, 16, 12. What is the average of these three quantities? There's obviously 16, right? 20, 16, and 12. The average of the quantity is 16 multiplied with the total distance 80, 120, and 160. So multiplied by that, okay, I'll simply get 5760 metric tons. That's the simple average. Okay, so that is how we calculate the commercial ton kilometer. Okay, that is how we calculate the commercial ton kilometer. Everybody, is it clear? Commercial ton kilometer and what do you say, absolute ton kilometer? Come on, yes, no, or whatever queries you may have, please send. Yes, if there are any queries, please tell me. Is it clear? Then please say yes, it's clear. Chalo. I think it is more or less clear for everyone. Keep interacting, keep interacting. The more you interact, the more you learn. Simple as that. Okay, the more you interact, the more you learn. Now, the next topic is whenever you are doing service sector costing, students, that time what you have to do is you have to many a times you have to find the equivalent units. Now, what happens is suppose you go to a hotel. Okay, you go to a hotel and you find like this. There are some standard rooms which are 100, there are deluxe rooms which are 50, and there are luxurious rooms which are 30. Now, the room tariff for standard room is a standard one. Okay, for deluxe room it is 2.5 times of the standard suite, and for the luxurious rooms it is twice of the deluxe suite. Now, obviously बात है मुझे क्या करना है, I'll have to add up all the expenses and divide by the standard units, okay, equivalent units. नाउ प्रॉब्लम ये है कि मैं टोटल कॉस्ट को जब पूरी रूम से डिवाइड करूंगा, आई कैनॉट डू लाइक दिस. Like there are 180 rooms, I cannot do like this. Suppose if the total cost is 18 lakh divided by 180 rooms, no, I cannot do like that. Why not? Why I can't do like that? The reason is very simple. This 180 rooms are not of the same size, so I'll have to first of all make them equivalent and then try to find the cost per unit like that. Now, how to do this? How to find the equivalent number of rooms? Now, students, you can say like this. The deluxe rooms are 50 and they are equal to 2.5 times of the standard suites. So, multiply by 2.5. So, I think I'll get 125. I can say 50 deluxe rooms is equal to 125 standard rooms. I can write it, I can say like that because the rent I'm receiving from the standard rooms, the rent I'm receiving from the deluxe rooms is 2.5 times of the standard rooms. I can say one standard room, one deluxe room is equal to 2.5 standard rooms. So 50 deluxe rooms will be 125 standard rooms. Similarly, he has told you that there are 30 luxurious rooms, and luxurious rooms are the double of the deluxe suite. The deluxe is already 2.5 times of the standard suite. So 30 into 2, so 30 luxurious will be equal to 60 deluxe. 60 deluxe will be equal to 60 into 2.5. So that is, I guess, 150 standard suits. 150 standard suits. So total standard suits, how many it will be? 100 plus 125 plus 150. They are going to be, I think, 375 standard rooms. So what I'll do is, whatever my cost is, suppose my cost is 18 lakh divided by 375 standard rooms, I'll get the cost per standard room. Everybody clear? The concept is clear of equivalent. How you have to make them equivalent when you are solving for questions. This out of your all the chapters, this is one of the easiest chapters what you have. All what you have to do is just add all the expenses, divide by the units what you have, okay, and you'll simply get the cost per unit. Everybody, is it clear? Perfect. So I got how much? 375 we got, right? considered 360 room days, and then accordingly you've done all the calculations. Now students, can you do one thing? What we have calculated was 375 per day. Okay, remember that. So 1,35,000 is perfect. 375 hour was for one day. So for 360 days, if I multiply, I get 1,35,000. Okay, I'll get 1,35,000, which is the ultimate total. Now students, can you do one thing? For this one, calculate the equivalent number of units per in terms of luxurious rooms. Calculate the equivalent number of units in terms of luxurious rooms. Come on. Calculate equivalent number of units in terms of luxurious rooms. You must understand that luxurious room, or I can say uh, 2 deluxe rooms is equal to 1 luxurious, and 2.5 times of standard is 1 deluxe, and 2 deluxe will give you actually 1 luxurious. So calculate the equivalent number of luxurious units. Calculate the equivalent number of luxurious units. Okay, Abhijit. For one day only you calculate, that is okay. Like I know deluxe, this luxurious is twice of the deluxe route. So 50 deluxe will be equal to 25 luxurious. 50 deluxe will be equal to actually 25 luxurious only, because 2 deluxe is equal to 1 luxurious. So 50 deluxe is equal to 25 luxurious. Similarly, this standard, they have told you that 2.5 standards will give you 1 deluxe, and 2 deluxe will give you actually twice of the deluxe suite. Now understand this. 100 divided by 2.5 I'll do. So I got 40 deluxe. 40 deluxe divided by 2, I get 20 standard. So 30 plus 20 plus 25, 75 equivalent standard units. So 75 equivalent luxurious units, I will show. Luxurious units. Okay, so that way it can be done. You can multiply or divide and get the answers. Okay, so 75 equivalent luxurious units will be the answer for that. How I have done it? Like for example, from deluxe, if I have to go to standard, I have to multiply by 2.5. So from standard to deluxe, if I have to come, I have to divide by 2.5. Similarly, from luxurious to deluxe, when I was going from luxurious to deluxe, I multiplied by 2, because 1 luxurious is equal to 2 deluxe. So for 30 luxurious, I multiplied by 2, I got 60 deluxe. Similarly, if for deluxe you have to bring to luxurious, divide by 2. That is how you calculate this. Now, whenever you are doing, whenever you are making cost sheets for the service sectors, just remember one thing. Whenever there are a list of expenses given, try to, segregate them between the fixed expenses, the variable expenses, and the semi-variable expenses. In service sectors, especially transport, if I talk about, the variable expenses can be referred to as the operating expenses. The fixed expenses will be like the garage and all that. They will be called as the standing charges. And the semi-variable expenses will be called as the maintenance expenses, like cleaners and all that. So understand there will be 3 kinds of expenses. One is fixed, one is variable, and one is semi-variable. Generally, oil will be a part of semi-variable maintenance. So variable expenses are the running expenses, or I can say operating expenses. Semi-variable are for maintenance, and the fixed expenses are for standing charges. Okay, a fixed charge like a rent. Now, see this. Semi-variables, repairs, tires, spares have been given. Standing charge or fixed cost, insurance, license fees, whatever is fixed. Whatever is fixed will form part of this. Garage rent, depreciation, tax, administration. Running or variable cost will be petrol, diesel, lubricant oil. Lubricant oil can be semi-variable also. Okay, remember that. Next, wages to driver, conductor, cleaner, depreciation, etc. Now, there can be a lot of questions like this. Okay, what you have to do is simply add all the expenses. Students, simply add all the expenses and divide it by the equivalent number of units, whatever you may be having. Maybe it can be passenger kilometers, it can be ton kilometers, and so on. Just add all the expenses, okay, and simply divide it, you get the answer. Now, students, I want from you the way how we calculate the passenger kilometers and all that. Students, I won't teach you how to add the expenses. They are already given, you just have to add them. Sometimes what happens is they are given in months, so we have to convert it in years and add. So this is very easy. That's not a problem. Any student can do that. Okay. The problem arises in passenger kilometers. Now, students, a passenger transport company is running 5 buses between two towns which are 40 kilometers apart. Seating capacity is for each bus is 40 passengers. Following details are available from the books of April. Actual passengers carried away were 75% of the seating capacity. All 5 buses run on all days of the month. Each bus made one round trip per day. Now you calculate passenger kilometers. Friends, that is the challenge. The other expenses is not the challenge. Okay, calculate the passenger kilometers in this question. Calculate the passenger kilometers. We are having 5 buses. Okay, how many buses? We are having 5 buses. I'll also help you how I have to calculate, how we have to calculate the passenger kilometers. So students, 5 buses multiply whatever it is, just keep on multiplying. Finish. 5 buses, 40 kilometers apart. 40 kilometers they are going to go. Seating capacity is 40 passengers. Okay, I'll tell you one thing. 40 kilometers if you are going, you are also coming back. So always make it double, because it will be always a round trip, right? So you'll go and you'll come back. So 5 buses, 40 kilometers going and coming back. Seating capacity is 40 passengers. How much we are carrying? 40 passengers. 40 passengers is my capacity, but do I actually carry that much? They have given you actual passengers carried were 75% of the seating capacity. So I'm just carrying 75% of the above. I'm just calculating 75% of the above. All 5 buses run on all days for the month. So this was the month of April, right? So 30 days. How many days? 30 days. 5 buses, 40 kilometers to go and 40 kilometers to come back. How many trips? Each bus made just one round trip per day. One round trip, right? So I just multiply all them. I already done that round trip part. So 5 into 40 into 2 into 40 into 75% into 30. Come on, do that. So I've already got some right answers from Abhijit, Arya. Very good, students. The answer is going to be 3,60,000 passenger kilometers. 3,60,000 passenger kilometers. So basically, this is how we calculate, right? This is how we calculate. You just have to keep on multiplying them. So what I'll do is I'll simply add the total cost and divide it by 3,60,000 passenger kilometers. I'll get the cost per passenger per kilometer. I'll get the cost of one passenger 1 kilometer, like that. All of your answers are correct. Okay. So 3,60,000 passenger kilometers is good. I want the cost per passenger kilometer. What I'll do is I'll just add 1,44,000 divided by 1,44,000 divided by 360. I'll get 0.40, like that. So that's very easy. That's very easy, right? Now, students, do one thing. In the question number 3, okay, I'll ask you some adjustments. Let's see if you are able to handle that. Students, first of all, there are some expenses which are given per year. There are some expenses which are given per month. Okay. Now, can you tell me in this particular question, read question number 3. Okay. And can you tell me, like, will you do the calculations on per year basis or per month basis? Will you do the calculations, all the calculations on a per year basis or a per month basis? Come on, do calculate per year or per month. Just tell me that. There is something which has been given, with which we can easily calculate, do we have to do it for per month or do we have to do it for the entire year? You can do both. It's not a problem. You can do both. Okay. But I'll suggest you one particular thing. Come on, you also tell, like, what will be better for us, per month or per year? Maximum details are given on a monthly basis. Okay, maximum details have been given on a monthly basis. Like, I am having the driver's salary, I am having stationery, management salary. Then they have given you that the bus will also run 25 days in a month. So I'll suggest you go for the entire calculation on a monthly basis. Okay, perfect. Kirti, Vaishnavi, Arya, Abhijit. So go for monthly basis. Now I want the entire expense on a monthly basis. First of all, guys, calculate the depreciation. So how do I calculate depreciation? The bus cost 10 lakh rupees. Is there any scrap value given? No, I guess there is no scrap value. So 10 lakh rupees divided by 2.5 years. So it comes 4 lakh divided by 12 months. So I get 33,333 for one bus. Then multiply by whatever number of buses are there. Like that. Okay. How do I calculate the passenger kilometers? How do I calculate the passenger kilometers? Students, I'll highlight the information, calculate the passenger kilometers. Okay. First information is over here. Then the next information is over here. Calculate the passenger kilometers. Calculate the passenger kilometers. Come on. For the month. Come on, everybody, do calculate. Say Arya. Nahi, Shiraksha, your answer is wrong. 2,40,000 is correct. Okay, see this, 40 kilometers, 40 kilometer, 3 trips, round trip, right? Round trip. So into 2, into 40 passengers, into 25 days. If I do, I get 2.4 lakh. I get 2.4 lakh. Yes, everybody, it is correct. Okay, 2.4 lakh. That is correct. They have done it in per annum basis. Okay, they have done on per annum basis. We have calculated on monthly. Monthly was actually better in this one. Monthly was actually better in this one. Now, students, I'll ask you something. He has asked you a calculation, calculate the bus fare to be charged from each passenger. Now, when you have to calculate the bus fare to be charged from each passenger, suppose I have got 2.4 lakh passenger kilometers and my total cost is coming, let us say, my total cost is coming 28.8 lakh. What I'll do is my total cost 28.8 lakh divided by, come on, 28.8 lakh divided by 2,40,000. So it is coming 12 rupees, right? It is coming 12 rupees, 28 lakh 80,000 divided by 2 lakh 40,000. So it is coming 12 rupee per passenger kilometer, right? Per passenger kilometer. Now he is asking you the bus fare to be charged. How I'll calculate the bus fare to be charged? So simple. First of all, this is my cost per passenger kilometer. Okay. I'll have to add 15% profit on the takings. Now, how do I add 15% profit on the takings? See, my cost is coming 12 rupee per kilometer, per passenger kilometer. That is my cost. That is my cost. He wants 15% profit on takings. So, if my takings are, let's say, 100%, my profit should be 15%. So, my cost should be 85%, like that. My cost should be 85%. So, I'll divide this 12 rupee per passenger kilometer, or maybe what you can do is whatever is the total amount, divide it by 85%. So I get somewhere 14.117. Okay, this is my selling price or my fare per passenger kilometer. Per passenger kilometer. Okay, this is how I can get. I can even do it either for per kilometer basis or I can do it for totality also. Now, students, once I have got the total takings, or I have got the passenger kilometer, okay, takings per passenger kilometer, he is asking you the bus fare to be charged. Students, this is not the answer for bus fare to be charged. This is just the answer for takings per passenger kilometer. But the distance was 40 kilometers. So I'll charge not for 1 kilometer, I'll charge for 40 kilometers. So into 40 I must do, and that is the fare to be charged. So whenever you are asked the fare to be charged, so just multiply with the whatever you are takings or cost per passenger kilometer, whatever you are getting, okay, you will multiply it by the number of kilometers also to get the fare to be charged. I am getting answer somewhere 564.7. I am getting somewhere 564.70. I hope everybody has understood this. Okay, this is something interesting. Just by getting the passenger kilometers and dividing the cost by the passenger kilometers need not necessarily give you the answer, because he has asked you fare to be charged. So I'll multiply it with the number of kilometers and I'll ultimately get the fare to be charged. I know that Arya, that 10% commission is also there. I'm not specifically talking for this. Okay, नहीं तो मैं पूरा कैलकुलेट करवा के दे देता बेटा आपको. मैं स्पेसिफिकली इस क्वेश्चन की बात नहीं कर रहा था, मैं सिर्फ आपको एक आइडिया दे रहा हूं मैडम. नहीं तो आप तो जानते हैं, लाइक हम लोग कभी ऐसे सॉल्व नहीं करते. व्हाट वी डू इज नॉर्मली हम लोग यहां पर we normally make a chart like this. Suppose I'll write the material, I'll write not material, sorry, I'll write diesel, I'll write garage, and I'll add rent and all that. I'll do all this, okay, out of which the fixed expenses, the fixed or standing charges I can write. Standing charges, then I'll write running cost, I'll write the maintenance expenses, I'll just add them up. Okay, whatever I add, now what happens is, oh sorry, I'll just add them up. What will happen is, now he will give you that commission is 10% of takings, profit is 15% of takings, takings will be 100%. So whatever the takings are, this has to be 75%. This has to be 75%. So this is the real way of solving that. Okay, after that what I'll do is, I'll divide it by passenger kilometers. So I'll get takings per passenger kilometer. And then I'll multiply it with the kilometers. Okay, then I'll per trip. Okay, so that will give you the fare to be charged from the passenger. So that is the actual technique of doing that. I was just showing a brief actually. Okay, हम लोग पूरा सॉल्व नहीं कर रहे थे बेटा वो. Okay, now students, I'll tell you one thing in this particular one, especially. See, all other things are very much same. Just add all the expenses and divide by the cost units. You will see and understand this, that even in the notes, revision notes which have been provided to you, we have not incorporated the topic of service sector costing, because that is not necessary only. In service sector costing, what you have to do is just simply have to multiply and just calculate per unit and like that. Okay, so there's nothing much to explain in that actually. I'll take few examples again. Students, one example, specially I'll tell you to do it very, very properly. I don't know why, but Institute has asked this question, this one. Institute has asked this particular question in a lot of RTPs and MTPs. I'm not sure why, but they have done it so many times. Okay, and you'll be seeing our the past exam sheet and all that thing. Okay, so you'll also find it over there also. Lot of times they have asked you the same question. Sanzet Lifecare Limited operates in life insurance business. Last year, it launched a new term in life insurance policy for practicing professionals, Professional Protection Plus. The company has incurred the following expenditure during the last year: policy development, cost of marketing, sales support, policy issuance, policy servicing, claims management, IT, postage, facilities, employee, and office administration cost. Number of policies sold and total insured policies of those. Calculate the total cost for protection, segregating the four into main activities: product development, marketing and sales support, operations, IT, and then support functions. Okay, so you have to segregate. See, you have to write only those expenses, but you have to just show it as a segregation. Okay, you just have to show it as a segregation. First is product development, marketing, and sales support. I'll directly tell you the first three: policy development, marketing, and sales support. Operations, the next three: policy issuance, policy servicing, and claims cost. These are the next three which are part of support cost. Sorry, operations cost. The third one is IT, which is this one, and the last one support functions. All the remaining are support functions. So that's very simple. 3314. Okay, 3314. They are already in a sequence. Okay, product development, marketing, and sales support, operations, IT, and support functions. You just have to classify under the four heads, and you'll then just make the total out of it. Whatever the total it is, divide by 528 policies, you get the cost per policy. Divide by this, you get the cost per rupee of insured value. Finish. Okay, that's it. That's it. So see this, I just have added all this, segregated under various heads. Okay, divided by 528 policies, I get the cost per policy. Divided by the insured value, I get the cost per rupee of insured value. Everybody, is it clear? It's very simple, students. It's very simple. If you have any queries, you can definitely ask. One more question which I like you to solve, and this is this one. This one. Come on, students. This is the last question that we'll be taking from service sectors. Okay, question number 14. This is the last one which we'll be taking. Come on. I'm waiting for your answers. I want the cost per kWh. Okay, I know you can do that. I'm waiting for you. Okay, just calculate the cost per kilowatt hour. Prepare the cost statement of Igras thermal power station showing the cost of electricity generated per kilowatt hour from the following data given below. You have been given some expense 5 per kg. Depreciation charges at 5% of total on capital cost. Done. Come on. Just add all the expenses. These expenses are already there. Just calculate the coal and depreciation expense, add it up, divide by 20 lakh and done. Come on, do calculate. Calculate the cost for coal, calculate the cost of depreciation, add the expenses, then divide by 20 lakh kilowatt hours and you are done. Come on. Very good, Abhijit. We have already got some right answers. Shriyaksha, Arya, your answers are correct. Shreya, your answer is correct. For 5 kilowatt hours, you require 4.2 rupee, 25 rupees expenditure. Very good, Omkar. So, बेटा 20 लाख किलोवाट आवर्स के लिए कितना? It's like this. For 5 kilowatt hour, you require 1 kg. That is 4.25 rupees. For 5 kilowatt hours, you require 4.25 rupees of expenditure. So for 20 lakh kilowatt hours, how much will be the expenditure? This into this divided by this. So 20 lakh into 4.25 divided by 5. So the expenditure for coal, for electricity is coming 17 lakh for coal. And depreciation is 5% of 5 crore, that is 25 lakh is depreciation. Just add all this 17, 25, 30. So 17 plus 25 plus 30 plus 10 plus 8 plus 6 and plus 40. So the total cost is coming 1 crore 36 lakh, or I can say 136 lakhs. 136 lakhs divided by 20, I get rupees 6.8. Okay, I get rupees 6.8. All of you, your answers are correct. Okay, all of you, your answers are correct. So that is rupees 6.8. Perfect. We have understood how we have to solve the problems based on service sector costing. This is very easy topic. We all know that. Okay, just simply add all the expenses and that's it. By the way, I'll tell you, I'll suggest you, see the May 23 question which was asked in exam. There was something interesting, especially it was with respect to the vehicles and all that passing on the toll road. They have given some benefits for the return trips and high load vehicles, small vehicles like that. Okay, so that calculation was something interesting. Okay, so do see those questions. Okay, do see that. Now, after that, I'll start with one of the most awaited topics of the syllabus, and that is standard costing. Okay, so standard costing, one of the most awaited topics. See, in standard costing, we'll be sticking to only the most important things. In standard costing, first of all, do understand that chapter is not from theory perspective. This chapter is from practical perspective. You will be given some questions. You will have to calculate the variance of those things. Standard costing, you have to set the standards and compare them. These all basics you all know. Okay, so I'm not wasting this is a crash course. I'm not wasting time on irrelevant things. Okay, why standard costing needed and all that things. Okay, there are four types of standards also. First is ideal standards, which are the most favorable but practically not achievable. Normal standards, which can be achieved. Okay, basic or bogey standards. In fact, normal standards are generally normally achieved or achievable. Next, basically, I can say on an average, you have been generating like for past 3 years, 4 years, what have you have been generating is a normal standard. Basic or bogey standards, which are actually constant for over a very long period of time. Example, suppose if you are making biscuits, okay, you are in the manufacturing of biscuits, okay, then you'll have to make segregation. Like for 1 kg of biscuits, you require like half kg of wheat, like that. This kind of standard will be fixed for a very long time. This is a physical standard, right? For 1 kg of biscuit, you require half kg of wheat. So that's a basic thing which is going to be constant for a very long period of time. I've been asked a query, sir, whether separation of standing and variable cost is compulsory. It is not compulsory, but it is advised to do that, because it has been seen that this was previously not there, but ICI has recently introduced it in the syllabus to segregate the service expenses, okay, service costing expenses in these three heads. So I'll tell you, it is not mandatory to do that, but yes, it is advised to definitely do that. Okay. Current standards are basically whatever are your expectations, anticipations for the current period. Next, procedures and all that, these are all irrelevant things. You can see in the content. Now students, what is the process that you normally follow when you are doing a service sector costing? You set up the standards, you ascertain the actual cost, you compare these two, get the variances, identify the reasons, and take corrective actions. Excuse me, you take corrective actions. Okay. Now there are this kind of variances. You can see there are 4 in our syllabus, that is material, labor, overheads, out of which one is variable and one is the fixed overhead. So there are 4 types of variances which are there in our syllabus. We'll be understanding the charts for everything. Now you can see the content, what is given in the notes. Okay, they are all the formulas. Okay, they are all the formulas. But I'll not be using this chart, to be very frank. I'll not be using this chart to solve the questions. Okay, this is for you to see the formulas and all that. Okay, this is not what we're going to use to solve the problems. To solve the problems, we are going to use something else, and which will help you to get the solutions very fast. Okay, very fast. Now, how to do that? First of all, before I actually start calculating all the variances and all that, first you should understand what do you mean by SQ. What do you mean by SQ? Obviously, sir, standard quantity. Beta, always remember SQ is standard quantity required to produce actual output. So to produce actual output, whatever standard quantity of raw materials is required, okay, that is called as the standard quantity. Sir, why raw materials? Because we are starting with the material cost variances. Material is raw material only, okay. So this variance, what we are doing is right now not from the finished goods perspective. This is from the what do you say, raw materials perspective. So standard quantity is not the budgeted quantity, is not what you have earlier thought or something like that. No, standard cost quantity is basically for producing the actual quantity. The actual output, whatever you have produced, whatever standard that was required for the actual output is going to be called as a standard quantity. एक्चुअल आउटपुट को बनाने के लिए जितनी क्वांटिटी लगनी चाहिए थी उसे कहते हैं स्टैंडर्ड क्वांटिटी. ओके, quantity of inputs required to produce the actual output, that is a standard quantity. Now students, for solving the material cost variances, we must follow a chart. We must follow a chart. And sir, what is the chart? The first column will be SQSP. The first column will be what? SQSP. The second column will be RAQSP. The third column will be AQSP. And the fourth column will be EQAP. You will have to make this 4 columns. First is the standard quantity into standard price. The second one is revised actual quantity in the into standard price. The third one is actual quantity into standard price. And the fourth one is actual quantity into actual price. So these are the 4 columns that we'll have to make. These are the 4 columns we have to make. Sir, we don't know what is RAQ. I'll teach you, don't worry. The gap between the first and the second column will give you the yield variances. Do one thing. The gap, see, whatever is the total of this, the gap between the first and the second will give you the yield variances. The gap between the second and the third will give you the mix variances. The gap between the third and the fourth will give you the price variance. The gap between the first and the third column directly straight away, okay? First and the third column will give you the usage variance. And gap between the first and the fourth column will give you the cost variance. Okay, so first and last will give you the cost variance. Now students, usage plus price will also give you cost variance. Yield plus mix will give you the usage variance. So this is the chart that we normally follow to calculate each and every variance. This is very, very easy. To be very frank, the way you normally learn this is actually matters whether standard costing is difficult or easy. आपको चार चार्ट बनाना, आपको चार कॉलम बनाने के, चार कॉलम तुमने बना लिए, तुमको सभी वेरिएंस अपने आप आ जाएंगे, आपको कुछ नहीं करना है, आपको कुछ भी नहीं करना है, सारे वेरिएंसेस अपने आप आ जाएंगे बेटा. फर्स्ट और सेकंड का गैप होता है, फर्स्ट एंड सेकंड, द गैप बिटवीन द फर्स्ट एंड सेकंड गिव्स यू द यील्ड वेरिएंस, सेकंड एंड थर्ड गिव यू द मिक्स वेरिएंस, थर्ड एंड फोर्थ विल गिव यू द प्राइस वेरिएंस, first and third will give you the usage variance, and the gap between the first and the fourth column will give you the cost variance. You should understand yield plus mix gives us the usage variance, usage plus price will also gives you the cost variance. So they are all interconnected. They are all interconnected, remember that. Now students, what is SQSP? Sir, you have told us that this we have to follow, but what are the columns actually? SQSP, standard quantity into standard price. Sir, what is standard quantity? Actual standard quantity required to produce the actual output. Standard price per unit. What is RAQ? Revised actual quantity, or I can say actual quantity is total written in the standard proportion. What is this RAQ? Actual quantity total in the standard proportion, multiply by the standard price, then I'll multiply actual quantity into standard price, and then I'll get actual quantity into the actual prices, and I'll get the gap of the first and second to get the yield variance, second and third mix variance, first and third usage variance, first and fourth cost variance, third and fourth price variance. So these are the different variances which I can easily calculate with the help of this table. Okay, sir, please help us with a problem. Okay, please use one problem and then try to calculate all the stuff. Okay, beta, definitely I'll do that for you. Let me take a material where I can have everything, I'll do one thing, students. I'll be solving question number 3 right away in front of you. Okay, I'll calculate each and every variance for you, and I'll teach you how you can also do that. Students, the standard cost of a chemical mixture is as follows. 40% material A is at 20 rupees per kg, 60% material B at 30 per kg. You will also solve this with me, okay, along with me, and we'll calculate each and every variance, okay, for each and every product. Now students, let's do one thing. First of all, make the respective columns. We want 4 columns. Actually, one more column would have been better to write the names of the materials, that is A and B, the total. A, B and total. Okay, I'll write this. Now students, fifth column will actually help us to write the names and all that. Now students, what happens? See this. The first thing they have mentioned in this one is the standard cost of chemical mixture is as follows: 40% material A at 20 rupees per kg, 60% material B at 30 rupees per kg. A standard loss of 10% of input is expected in the production. This is a very crucial line. Okay, a standard loss of 10% is expected in the production. It means that if I introduce 100 units, only 90 has to be produced. Okay, only 90 will get produced. This is the meaning of that. Then I have the cost records of the period showed the following usage: 90 kg material A at a cost of 118 rupees per kg, 110 kg of material B at a cost of 34 per kg. The quantity produced was 182 kg of the good product. Okay, what was the quantity produced? 180 kg of the good product. Now, students, whatever the details are there, I'll first mention that. Okay, so this 20 rupees and this 30 rupees, this denotes the standard prices. What are this 20 and 30? This denotes the standard prices. 90 kg of A, 110 kg of B, this represents the actual quantity. 18 and 34, this represents the actual prices. Okay, this represents the actual prices. Now, I just want two things. One is the standard quantity and second is the revised actual quantity. I'll do one thing. First of all, I'll mention at least SP, AQ and SP. 20, 30, come on. 20, 30, 20, 20, 30, 30. See, I'm having standard prices in the product. Okay, so I'm writing the standard prices 20, 30, 20, 30, 20, 30. The last column I'm having actual quantity to actual price. Now I'm having actual quantity 90 and 110. 90 and 110. So 90 actual quantity, 110 actual quantity, 90, 100 and actual quantity, 110 actual quantity. I've noted the actual quantities now. I want actual prices 1834. Actual prices 1834. Okay, so 18 and 34 I have got. Everybody understood till now? I just want two things now. One is the SQ and second is the RAQ. I just want these two things: standard quantity and the revised actual quantity. Now, first of all, starting with standard quantity, the quantity produced was 182 kg of the good product. Now, this is what is going to give you everything. See, what is our actual output? Our actual output is 182 kgs. Our actual output is what? 182 kgs. He has given you that there is a normal loss of 10%. Okay. So, if I input 100 kg, I know if my input is 100 kg, so my output is only 90 kg. Right? If my input is 100, my output is 90. But my actual output has come to 182 kg. So how much input is required? Come on, calculate that. 182 kg is my actual output. So how much input is required for that? I know for 100 of output I get 90. For 100 of input I get an output of 90. So for an output of 182, how much is the input required? 182 divided by 90%. So this is coming 202.22. 202.22. Everybody understood this? Like for input of 100, I get an output of 90. So for output of 182, how much input will be required? So cross multiply I did, and I got that my standard input, or I can say standard quantity, should be 202.22, of which 40% represents A and 60% represents B. So into 40%, it is coming 80.88. So 80.88, I'll write it over here. My standard quantity is 80.89. Okay, 80.88. So I'll write 80.89 and 121.3333 for this one. 121.3333 as for the quantity B. Students, have you understood this? Yes or no? Have you understood this? How I have calculated this? For an input of 100, my output was 90. So for an output of 182, what should be my input? I got the standard quantity. And this standard quantity, because it was in the ratio 40:60, I just did it 40:60. Okay, 4:6. I got SQs for A and B. Have you all understood the sequence? Have you all understood the sequence? Come on, yes or no? Have you all understood the sequence? Very, very good. Very good. Now, students, one more thing is pending to calculate, and that is RAQ. Sir, how to calculate RAQ? RAQ stands for, see, what is RAQ? Actual quantity rewritten in standard proportion. What is RAQ? Actual quantity rewritten in the standard proportions. So what was the actual quantity, students? 90 and 110. Take the total. 90 plus 110 will be, I guess, 90 plus 110, it is 200. So 200 in the standard ratio. 290 into 110 in the standard ratio, which was given 40%, 60%. So this 200, I have to write it in the ratio 40:60. So I'll simply write 80 kg for A and 120 kg for B. Actual quantity, I took the total of actual quantity 90 and 110. The total was coming 200. Okay, 200 in the ratio 40:60. Now I have filled all the columns. So let's get the final figures for every item. So 80.89 into 20, I got 1617.8. 121.33 into 30, I got 3639.9. Actually, I can write 3640 also. It is better. So I got 5257.8. Then I have this one 1600. This will be 3600. So the total will be 5200. 1800, 3300. The total will be 100. 19 to 18. 1620, 3740, 5360. So I have filled each and every column now. Now after that, students, I want the yield variance. Okay, I want the yield variance. How will I get the yield variance? Students, first column minus second column. Okay, first column minus second column. I want for A, for B, and for totals. For A, for B, and for totals. Now, students, I want the yield variance. If I want the yield variance for A, just take the gap of the first and the second column. It will be 17.8. Okay, first minus second. Remember, yield variance is what? First minus second. 17.8 for product A, right? For product A, 17.8. Chalo, next for product B, 3640 minus 3600, answer 40. आंसर क्या आएगा 40. And for the total, take the gap of the total item, so that is going to be 57.8. Sir, whether they are favorable or adverse. Beta, the answers are coming positive. Like if I do first column minus second column, it is positive 17.8, positive 40, positive 57.8. Whenever the answer comes positive, whenever an answer comes positive, the understand they are going to be favorable. They are going to be favorable. Okay, whenever they are positive, especially in respect to all the cost variances, like for example material, labor, variable overheads and fixed overheads, we are all having the cost variance only. So whenever our answer will come positive, that will be favorable variances. If the answer comes negative, that's adverse variance. Next, second column minus third columns gives you mixed variance. Second column minus third column will give me the mixed variance. Sir, 1600 minus 1800, 200 negative adverse for product A. 200 adverse for product A, like that. I hope everybody has understood. Similarly, 3600 and 3300 will be 300 favorable. 5200 and 5100, 100 favorable. There is a gap of 100 and positive, that is favorable. Similarly, I'll get usage variance. Usage is first minus third. Usage is first column minus third column. Or I can do like this, simply total yield and mix. Simply total yield variance with the mix variance, I'll get the answer. Okay, so first minus this third one, 1617.8 minus 1600, so ये हो गया है, sorry, minus 1800. So that is 182.2 adverse. Similarly, 3640 minus 3300, 340 favorable. Similarly, this one 5257.8 minus this, so 157.8 favorable. So like that I'll keep on doing. Okay, like that I'll keep on doing. Then I'll easily get the rate variance and the cost variance. Okay, I'll easily get the rate variances and the cost variances. So rate variance will be like this: third columns minus fourth columns, I'll get the rate variance. First column minus the fourth column, I'll get the cost variance. Okay, like that. So remember, cost variance is also the total of usage and rate. Like for example, what is the rate variance for the first one? 1800 and 1620. So it is going to be 182, 180. 180 favorable. See this. The gap between these two is 180 favorable. And the gap between the first and the last one, okay, is actually 2.2 adverse. Now, if I take the total of usage and rate, that will also come 2.2 adverse only. 182.2 adverse and 180 favorable, net is 2.2 adverse, okay, which is left. So like that, I can calculate for A, B and total. Sir, do we have to make this as always the rows and this as the columns? No, you can interchange them. Okay, those students have solved with me in the class, probably we have done this in the rows and this in the columns. Okay, this in the columns, because it's easy to compare and fatafat do keep on the writing all the answers. Okay, like that. तो आई होप सबको समझ में आ गया है. क्या सभी को क्लियर हो गया बेटा? ये क्या सबको क्लियर हो चुका है? Material variances, this is the way how we calculate. This is the way how we calculate. Okay. So you can see that we have not tried to remember any formula. It is just with the help of chart we are easily getting all the variances. We are easily getting all the variances with the help of these charts. Okay, and these similar charts are there for material, labor, variable overhead and fixed overhead, all of them. Okay, so we'll be doing it with the help of this fixed formats only. So whenever you are doing the calculations, you should understand that SQ is something very interesting and RAQ is something interesting. SQ is the standard quantity for the actual output, and RAQ is basically the actual quantity rewritten in the standard proportions. Now, come to the chart for labor. $182 and all that. All answers will match. Huh? Okay, so don't even need, there is no need to even check that. Answers are definitely going to match. Now coming to the labor variances. So how to calculate the labor variances? So let's make a chart for the labor variances also. Let's try to make up a chart for labor variance also. Yes. This is a question which we can solve, which will cover almost everything what we want. The first column, see this is obviously the particulars, okay, where I'll write the skilled, semi-skilled, unskilled, and I'll make the totals, okay, I'll make just the totals. The first column will be SHSR, RAHWSR, AHWSR, AHPSR, and AHPAR, and AHPAR. So understand the four columns now, students. The first column is SHSR, that is standard hour into standard rate. The second column is revised actual hours worked into standard rate. The third column is actual hours worked into standard rate. The fourth column, actual hours paid into standard rate. And the fifth column, last column basically for calculation, will be actual hours paid into actual rate. I'll repeat the columns again. The first column for calculation is SHSR, that is standard hour into standard rate per hour. The second one is revised actual hours worked into standard rate. The third one is actual hours worked into standard rate. The fourth one is actual hours paid into standard rate. And the fifth one is actual hours paid into actual rate. So these are the columns that we do have to make. Okay. So, do you understand what is standard? What is standard rate? Obviously, the rate per hour which will be mentioned in the problem. So, what is actual rate mentioned in the problem? What is actual hours paid mentioned in the problem? What is actual hours worked mentioned in the problem? So, we have to calculate only two things. One is again the standard hours, and the second one is revised actual hours worked. These are the two things that we have to calculate. Standard hours are basically the standard hours required for the actual output, and same thing the way we did for the standard quantities. For actual output, whatever is the standard hours that are required, you will have to use in SH, and actual hours worked written in the standard proportion is RAHW. Now students, let us try to do this, and then afterwards I'll explain you what is the gap between first and second, second and third, third and fourth, first and fourth, first and fifth, like that. I'll explain all that to you, okay, afterwards. So all the variances, each and every variance will be calculated with the help of these 5 columns, okay. So now let's solve this. Students, what I think I should do, you tell me, shall I solve for all the 3 or shall I do it for only one that is skilled and that will be more than enough? Do you want me to solve for all the 3 or you want me to solve any one of them? Okay, maybe if I try skilled, okay, I just solve skilled and the answer is going to be the same for all of them. Or whatever you want, I can do like that. Ultimately, it should benefit you, right? Okay, okay. We'll go by the majority, okay? Whatever the majority says, we'll do like that. If you want that we should solve for only one, we'll do only one because the calculations is the same, exactly the same for all of them. Okay, Arya, Shikha, fine. I'll do only one of them. So, first of all, whatever is given, let's try to put that. Let's read the question. NPX Limited uses standard costing system for manufacturing product X. Following is the budget data given in relation to hours for manufacture of 1 unit of product X. Skilled I require. Thank you so much, Kirti, Abhijit, Shiraksha. Will be following only one. For 1 unit of X, I require skill last 2, semi-skilled 3, unskilled 5. Rate is given. So this he has given the standard hours for 1 unit. Okay, he has given the standard rates. In the month of January, total 10,000 units were produced. 18,000 skilled hours and skilled, semi-skilled rates were given. That actual expense is given. Actual idle hours have been given. That skilled is 500, semi-skilled is 700, unskilled is 800, and total is 2,000. Calculate the labor variances and some brief difference has been given. Okay. Remember, the last column always denotes the actual cost. Okay, the last columns, this actual hours paid into actual rate, that denotes the entire cost. Okay, remember that. Now, whatever is given and is very easy, I'll try to put that. First of all, is the standard rate given 643. So, because I'm solving only for skill now, I'll directly write into 6 into 6 into 6 into 6. Sir, what have you done? Beta, in every this thing, in every column, you can see we have to multiply by SR. SHSR, RHWSR, AHWSR, AHPSR. So I have to multiply by the standard rate, which was already given, 6 rupees for skill. If I'm doing it for semi-skilled, it will be 4. If I'm doing for unskilled, it will be 3. Like that. Next, the second thing I want is actual rate, okay, which is 8, 3.5 and 4. Actual rate is 8. So sorry, not 8, 7.5. Actual rate is 7.5. That is why I'm writing 7.5. 7. Okay, the actual rate is 7 for skilled. I hope it is clear now. So I've written the actual rate. Now students, actual rate is written. Okay, standard rates have been written. The next thing is actual hours paid and actual hours worked. Students, actual hours paid, let's come to actual hour paid. Following are the details, and actual idle hours, abnormal, they are 500 and all this thing. So I have presumed one thing, that these are hours paid, okay? These are what? Hours paid, in which is he has already given 18,000 hours into 7, 126 and like that. So I'm assuming these are hours paid. Now students, 18,000 hours is what is actually paid. 18,000, 18,000, I have multiplied that. Okay, I have multiplied that. 18,000 into 6, 18,000 into 7. What I am having in the third column is actual hour worked. So what is actual hour worked? Beta, I have paid for 18,000 hours, but there was an idle time of 500 hours. 18,000 minus 500, 17,500 is the hour worked. So I will write over here 17,500 hours which were worked. I hope everybody has understood how I have tried to done that. I have written actual hours paid in over here. I have written actual hours paid and I have written actual hours worked over here. Okay, I have written actual hours worked over here. Now, actual hours worked, obviously actual hours paid minus the idle time. And then what I want is, I want two things. First is the standard hour and second is the revised actual hours worked. Students, how do you calculate standard hour? Standard hour is basically the hours required for 1 unit of output. For hours required for the actual output. For 1 unit, skilled require 2 hours. For 1 unit, skilled requires 2 hours. So for 10,000 units which were produced, I should require how many hours? For 1 unit, skilled require 2 hours. So for producing 10,000 units, which is the actual output, I must require 20,000 hours. Right? I must require 20,000 hours, right? Have you all understood this? How I have done that? For 1 unit, I require 2 hours. For 1 unit, I require 2 hours. So for 10,000 units, which is the actual output, how many hours are required? So 10,000 into 2, that is 20,000. So I have written 20,000 over here. And next is revised actual hours worked is basically, students, actual hours worked. How much is the actual hours worked? See, these are the hours which are paid. 2,000 is the idle time. So out of 1,09,000, 2,000 is the idle time. So 1,07,000 hours is the hours worked, right? This is the hours which are worked. 1,07,000 hours, right? So hours worked is 1,07,000. Now divide it in the standard proportion 2:3:5. Okay, so basically 20% of this 1,07,000 is actually for the skilled. Okay, 2:3:5. I have to split them. So come on, 1,07,000 into 20%. So that is 21,400. That should be the revised actual hours work. That should be the revised actual hours work. Have you all understood this? Have you all understood this? See, standard rates I have directly written as it is, which was given in the question. Actual hours, actual rate stand directly as it is given. Actual hours paid given. Actual hours worked. How I have calculated actual hours worked? From the total hours paid, I reduced the idle time. I got the hours worked. Okay, that was 18,000 minus 500. So that is 17,500. So I have written it over here. Then what I did is I calculated two things. One is the standard rate. How I have calculated the standard rate, which was very simple. Beta for 1 unit, I require 2 hours. So for 10,000 units, which is actual production, I require 10,000 into 20,000 hours. Okay, so 20,000 hours I have mentioned over here. And then revised actual hours worked. How I have to solve this? Beta actual hours worked I have to calculate first. 1,09,000 is what I have paid. 2,000 is idle. So my hours worked is 1,07,000. Divide this 1,07,000 in the standard proportion 2:3:5. Once it is done, okay, I have got this. I have got this. Come on, do calculate now. 20,000 into 6 is 1,20,000. 1,20,000. 21,400 into 6 is 128,400. 17,500 into 6, so that is 1,05,000. 18,000 into 6, so that is 1,08,000. And 18,000 into 7, so 1,26,000. क्या स्टूडेंट्स यहां तक पूरा पार्ट क्लियर हो चुका है? यहां तक का पूरा पार्ट क्लियर है? Now the gap between the first and the second, is labor sub efficiency, or sometimes you call it as net efficiency variance. So the gap between these two, negative 8,400, right? Negative 8,400. So negative 8, obviously I'll call it as adverse. Okay, so 8,400 adverse is nothing but sub efficiency or net efficiency variance. The gap between the second and the third columns, okay, the gap between the second and the third columns, how much is it? It is 23,400, I feel, and positive 1,28,400 minus 1,05,000. So that is 23,400 positive, favorable. This is the mix variance or gang variance. What is this? Mix variance or gang variance. Remember that. So the gap between the first and the second columns gives you the sub efficiency or net efficiency. The gap between the second and the third gives you the mix or the gang variance. The gap between the third and the fourth, the gap between the third and the fourth column gives you idle time variance. Idle time variance. The gap between the third and the fourth. So one thing, I'll just write it over here. The gap between the third and the fourth is always idle time variance, and idle time variance is always negative. Always negative. It is always paid extra, so it is always adverse only. Okay, it is always adverse. So in our example, it is 3,000 adverse. That is idle time variance. Okay, that is idle time variance. Now students, first minus third. Okay, if I directly do first minus third, I'll get the efficiency variance. First minus fifth, I'll directly get the cost variance. Okay, first minus third, I'll get the efficiency variance, and first minus fifth directly, if I do, I'll get the cost variance. Okay, obviously, between the third and the fourth column, the gap is the rate variance. The gap is what? The rate variance. I hope everybody you have understood. In our example, the rate variance will be 18,000 adverse. Fourth and fifth column gap. Okay, the rate variable will be, rate variance will be 18,000 adverse. The cost variance will be first minus last. That is 120 minus 126. So 6,000 adverse. 6,000 we are paying extra, that is adverse. And efficiency variance is again 15,000. 15,000, that is what do you say, favorable. I hope students, everybody you have understood how you have to calculate all this. How you have to calculate all this. Is it clear? Is it clear? बस एक ये छोटा सा चार्ट आप फॉलो कर लीजिए, आपका सब काम हो जाता है. ऐसा आप स्किल्ड के लिए भी निकाल सकते हैं. यू कैन कैलकुलेट फॉर सेमी स्किल्ड, यू कैन कैलकुलेट फॉर अनस्किल्ड एंड टोटलिटी में, सबका टोटल में भी निकाल सकते हैं. So in exams, do we have to calculate for total or do we have to calculate for individual? You have to calculate for both, total also and individuals also. You have to calculate for both. So 6,000 and 18,000 rate, efficiency 15,000 favorable, idle time 3,000, mix 23,400 favorable. Okay, 23,400 favorable. Every variance is absolutely perfect. 10,500 is the rate variance. Rate variance is 10,500. Why ours is different? Okay, this is the next question. So sorry. This is the next question. Yield variance is 8,400 for skilled, 8,400 adverse, perfect. So each and every calculations of ours is correct. Okay, each and every calculation is correct. So this is how we calculate for the labor. Okay, this is how we calculate for the labor. So if it is clear, I can move for the next chart, that will be for variable overheads, and then I'll start with the fixed overhead. ये स्टूडेंट्स पूरा हो गया बेटा क्लियर? Just give me a second. Just give me a second, please. Just give me a second, please. Now, students, the way I was telling you, we have created a course on our app, which is Sanjeevani Booty, the costing most important questions ebook. Okay, and you can see all the revised files on 20th of September. Basically, today, we are in the morning, we have uploaded all the revised files, including the September 23 MTP and all that. So you can see all the PDFs have been uploaded over here. Okay, and once you will open that, you will find everything. Okay, now I'll just show it to you how exactly it's going to look like. Okay, so you can see if there's a material cost. Okay, we have actually like we have seen this the exam questions, like May 23 question, then you have the solution, then you have November 22 exam question with the solution. Like this we are having 5 recent exam questions. Okay, so including till May 21. So 5 recent exam questions, and then you have the RTP questions. Okay, so after that, so RTP is also in that file only again. So RTP again starting from the most recent one, which is the November 23 RTP, which is relevant for your exam. Okay, then the May 23 exam RTP, then you have the RTP of November 22, then RTP May 22. Okay, and then after that, okay, RTP May 22, after 4 RTPs we have started with the MTPs. Now March 23 series, okay, series 1 mock test paper, then March 23, then similarly November 22 series 1, series 2, and the September RTP, okay, which is the last. You can see September 23 series 1, which was just conducted a few days back. This also question have been taken chapter wise. Okay, so like this, each and every chapter, each and every theory question also it has been covered over here. Okay, each and everything at one place they have already kept. Okay, so you can directly go and see it on the app also. Now students, coming back, so we have completed this one, labor costing. Now we'll move ahead. Labor costing, I mean, sorry, the rate and the variances for labor. Now we'll do for the variable. Now how the chart looks like for the variable one. For variable overheads, the chart is actually very easy. You'll just require 3 columns. You just require 3 columns. the first column will be the first column will be the first column will be AOSR, the second one will be AHSR, and the third one will be actually AVOH. I can write AHAR also, but actually AVOH is better. Actual variable overheads, which will be directly given in the question. Okay, so AOSR, AHSR, and AVOH. Actual output. Now I have made, this is the chart actually, but because there are two SRs given and both of them are to be different, so I'll just make the chart like this: AO into SRPO, okay, or SRPU, AH into SRPH, and AVOH. Sir, what do you mean by this? I'll tell you. First, AO stands for, we all know AO is actual output, AH is actual hours, and AVOH will be actual variable overheads. AO is actual output, AH is actual hours, and AVOH is actual variable overheads. What is SRPU? SRPU stands for standard rate per unit. Okay, standard rate per unit. Then we have AH into SRPH. Now, what is SRPH? Standard rate per hour. Sir, what do you mean by this? बेटा, यहाँ पे इसका मीनिंग क्या हो रहा है कि जब आप एक्चुअल आउटपुट के साथ ले रहे हैं, when you are using it with the actual output, you must take the standard rate per unit on a unit basis. जब आप SR मतलब एक्चुअल आवर्स के साथ उसे ले रहे हैं, तो you should take standard rate per hour basis. Sir, we have still not understood what are you trying to say. I'll take up a question, okay, and then try to explain that. First of all, I'll take up an example, okay, don't worry about it. Just note this columns: AO into SRPU, AH into SRPH, and then you have the AVOH. SRPU stands for standard rate per unit. एक यूनिट का स्टैंडर्ड वेरिएबल ओवरहेड कितना होता है? एक यूनिट का, है ना, एक यूनिट का स्टैंडर्ड वेरिएबल ओवरहेड कितना होता है? दैट इज SRPU. व्हाट इज SRPH? एक घंटे का स्टैंडर्ड वेरिएबल ओवरहेड कितना होता है? There is a difference. There is a difference. Okay, and actual variable overheads. AVOH is actual variable overheads. Now, the gap between the first and the second columns, efficiency. The gap between the second and the third columns is expenditure. The gap between, if I take the total, or if I simply take the gap of the first and the third columns, I'll get the cost variance. It's very, very simple. Okay, if I directly take the total of the first and the third columns, I'll get the cost variance. Now, students, okay, now you can see first and second efficiency, second and third expenditure, first and third cost. Finish. Now, let's take up a problem for this. See this question. From the following information of a G Limited, calculate variable overhead cost variance, variable overhead expenditure variance, and variable overhead efficiency variance. Now, students, they have given you budgeted production of 6,000 units, budgeted variable overhead 1,20,000 rupees. Now, students, what is the standard variable overhead per unit? What is the standard variable overhead per unit? See the standard variable overhead per unit. Now 6000 यूनिट बनाने के लिए आपका खर्चा 1,20,000 होना चाहिए था, बराबर है। 6000 यूनिट बनाने के लिए आपका खर्चा 1,20,000 होना चाहिए था, तो 1,20,000 डिवाइड बाय 6000, आपका एक यूनिट का स्टैंडर्ड खर्चा होता है 20 रुपए। आपका एक यूनिट का स्टैंडर्ड खर्चा होना चाहिए 20 रुपए। सिमिलरली बेटा, एक यूनिट बनाने के लिए आपको 2 घंटे लगते हैं। एक यूनिट बनाने के लिए 2 घंटे लगते हैं, समझने की कोशिश करिएगा। फॉर 1 यूनिट यू रिक्वायर 2 hours. फॉर 1 यूनिट योर एक्सपेंडिचर इज 20. कैन यू टेल मी देन व्हाट इज द स्टैंडर्ड रेट पर आवर? अगर एक यूनिट के लिए आपको 20 रुपए लगते हैं और एक यूनिट के लिए 2 घंटे लगते हैं, यानी पर आवर आपका स्टैंडर्ड रेट हो जाता है वेरिएबल ओवरहेड का 10 रुपीज। तो SRPH विल बी 10 रुपीज. ओके, यू विल रिक्वायर 10 rupees per hour or I can say 20 rupees per unit. Okay, so standard variable overhead is what? 10 rupees per hour or 20 rupees per unit. Okay, like that. So standard rate can be both in terms of units also, in terms of hours also. I hope it is clear to everyone. I'll repeat it again. Okay, I'll repeat it again. Students, how I have done. Variable overheads budgeted 1,20,000 and 6,000 units were there. So 1,20,000 divided by 6,000, it was 20 rupee per unit. Understand this point. It was 20 rupee per unit. One unit requires 2 hours. One unit expense is 20 rupees, right? So 20 rupees for 2 hours. So for 1 hour, my expense will be what? 10 rupees. So my SRPU, if I talk about, per unit it was 20 rupees, but per hour if I talk about my overhead, that is going to be 10 rupees. So we are still not understanding about the hours thing. Now I'll tell you one more way to do this. I'll tell you one more way to do this. Now students, there are 6,000 units of budgeted production, and for every unit you require 2 hours. So what is your budgeted hours now? What is your budgeted hours? For 6,000 units, you require 2 hours per unit. So your budgeted hours will be 12,000 hours, right? Your budgeted hours will be 12,000 hours. Have you understood? My budgeted production is 6,000 units. For every unit, I require 2 hours. So 6,000 into 2, my budgeted hours will be 12,000. So for 12,000 budgeted hours, my budgeted overhead is 1,20,000. So my per overhead is rupees 10. Okay, so per hour overhead is what? Rupees 10. I hope everybody has understood. So for 6,000 units, I require 2 hours. So like 12,000 hours are required. My expense is 120. So per hour expense will be 10 rupees. So like this also you can do. Now students, I've got the SRPU, I've got the SRPH. I'll just simply write it in a chart. What is the actual output? पहले तो मैं SRPU लिख लूं. My SRPU was 20 rupees. SRPH was 10 rupees. What is my actual production? 5,900 units. What is my actual overhead incurred? 1,22,000. Actual variable overhead 1,22,000. Then actual hours worked is 11,600. Actual hours 11,600. Now take the gap of this to 5,900 into 20. So that is 1,18,000. 1,16,000, 1,22,000. So if I ask you about the efficiency variance, first minus second, my efficiency variance is 2,000 positive, right? 2,000 favorable. Similarly, second minus third, 1,16,000 minus 1,22,000, 6,000 negative. So efficiency, expenditure variance 6,000 adverse, and cost variance first minus fourth is 4,000 negative. So cost variance is 4,000 negative. Everybody clear? क्या सभी को क्लियर हो गया बेटा ये? I think all the answers are correct. No need even to check that. There is no need to actually even check that. Yes, everybody clear? Any doubts, any queries till now? Clear? बढ़िया बढ़िया. स्टूडेंट्स, इज इट क्लियर? कम ऑन, यस नो जो भी है जल्दी से बताए. कोई डाउट हो तो पूछिए. I hope you are finding the topic easy. What you have to do is just remember the charts. That's it. Everything will be taken care of by the charts. The charts are very appropriately designed. Okay, and you are not going to follow, you're not going to see these charts in any other book. If you try to see some other book of other authors and all that, you will see some charts. There is no doubt about it. Okay, but the charts are not that much precise. Okay, please so note that. This covers everything. Okay, this covers everything. And last comes is the fixed overhead variances. So fixed overhead, we have to follow again a chart. For fixed overheads, we actually require 5 columns. So what are the 5 columns for this one? The first the 3 columns which we have already done over here, AOSR, AHSR and AVOH, they are all over here also. Now see this. AO into SRPH. Oh, so sorry. SRPU. With output, it is always per unit. Sir, this SRPU and the previous SRPU, is it the same? No. बेटा ये variable overhead वाला chart था ना, this is standard rate, standard variable overhead per unit था. यहाँ पर SRPU में standard fixed overhead per unit होगा. Okay, understand the difference. Okay, पहले वाले में standard variable overhead per unit था, अब क्या बेटा तो standard fixed overhead per unit है. So AO into SRPU. The next is AH into SRPH. The next one is AH into SRPH. Now this will be actual hours into standard rate of fixed overhead per hour. The last one is AFOH, same as the variable overhead columns. So these 3 columns are fixed. These 3 columns are fixed. AO into SRPU, AH into SRPH, and the third one, that is AFOH. Okay, so all what you have to do is you have to add 2 columns. One is the possible fixed overheads and second is the budgeted fixed overheads. One is the possible fixed overheads and second one is the budgeted fixed overheads. Now, the gap between the first and the second is efficiency. The gap between the second and the third, capacity. The gap between the third and the fourth, calendar. The gap between the fourth and the fifth, rate. The gap between the first and the fourth, volume. And the gap between the first and the fifth, cost. So these are the gaps basically. First and second, see I'll repeat it again. First and second, efficiency. Second and third, capacity. Third and fourth, calendar. Fourth and fifth, rate. First and fourth, volume. And first and fifth, cost. I can say efficiency plus capacity plus calendar gives you the volume variance. Efficiency plus capacity plus calendar will give you the volume variance. Okay. Similarly, volume variance plus rate variance will give you the cost variance. Okay, like that. So basically, first minus fourth, if I'll directly do, I'll add this 3. Okay, if I directly do, I'll get the volume, this volume variance. Sir, how it happens that first minus fourth is equal to this 3? It is very simple. But this efficiency is first minus second. 1 minus 2. This is 2 minus 3. This is 3 minus 4. What will happen if I add this 3? What will happen? 1 minus 2 plus 2 minus 3 plus 3 minus 4. So 2 2 cut, 3 3 cut, I get 1 minus 4, which is volume. Are you understanding the point? So this is how it works. Okay, I'll explain it again. See, what is efficiency? 1 minus 2. 1 minus 2. What is capacity? 2 minus 3. What is capacity? 2 minus 3. What is calendar? So calendar is basically 3 minus 4. 3 minus 4. So what will be volume? Understand, volume is actually the total of this 3. 1 minus 2 plus 2 minus 3 plus 3 minus 4. So this cut, this cut. I get 1 minus 4 as the volume variance. Okay, that is why I always tell you that if you take the total of these three, you'll get the volume. If you take the volume and rate, so the fourth column will get cut, the first and the fifth, I'll get the cost variance. Sir, now we have understood the chart, we have understood what all variances are we going to get, okay, but the only thing what we have not yet understood is actually like what is the meaning of all this. Beta, AO stands for actual output, we know that, right? AO stands for what? Actual output, we know that. SRPU stands for standard rate per unit, standard rate of fixed overhead per unit. AH, actual hours. SRPH, so SRPH will be standard rate of fixed overheads per hour. Okay, standard rate of fixed overheads per hour. Next, the last column. Always first fill the first, second, and the last column. That is actual fixed overheads. Then previous to that, preceding to that is the what do you say? Budgeted fixed overheads. And just before that is the possible fixed overheads. Sir, what is this budgeted fixed overhead and possible fixed overhead? Budgeted is basically whatever is given in the question, and possible fixed overheads, this concept will not be there in every question. Possible fixed overheads, when it will arise is whenever there is a gap, whenever there is a difference between the number of days which were budgeted and the number of days which we have actually worked, there comes the concept of PFOH. Now, what is PFOH? The formula is BFOH into actual days upon budgeted days. What happens is BFOH into AD upon BD, actual days upon budgeted days. So what we have to do is actually we have to check, like suppose for example the budgeted days was 25, like we were expecting that we'll work for 25 days, but we have worked for only 22 days. Okay, so we have worked for only 22 days. Let's say budgeted overhead was 2,50,000 for 25 days, but we work for only 22 days. So what I'll do is 2,50,000, whatever is the budgeted overhead, whatever is over here, just write it over here into, I have thought this will be for 25 days, but we work for only 22 days. So 2,20,000 like that. This is the possible fixed overhead. So PFOH will always come from the BFOH only into AD upon BD I'll have to do. So whenever there is a gap between the actual days and the budgeted days, okay, whenever there is a gap between the actual days and the budgeted days, that time you have to calculate the possible fixed overheads. Not coming. Just give me a second. It's not showing actually. Looks good. Looks good. Sure. Next, students, kindly note all this. In case you haven't solved it with me earlier and you are not having this chart, then please note this chart. Okay. Let's try to solve one problem where we will cover all the fixed overheads also. See this? But I think days वाला नहीं है यहाँ पे. If we can take up a particular this thing for days also. Yes, here we are having everything. Here we are having everything. So we'll do question number 11. A company has a normal capacity of 120 machines working 8 hours per day of 25 days in a month. The fixed overheads are budgeted at 1,44,000 per month. The standard time required to manufacture one unit of product is 4 hours. In April 2021, the company worked for 24 days of 840 machine hours per day and produced 5305 units of output. The actual fixed overheads are 1,42,000. अपने को सारे फिक्स ओवरहेड वेरिएंसेस निकालने के हैं, तो लेट अस डू ऑल दैट. ओके, लेट्स डू ऑल दैट. Now, students, let's make the 5 columns. The first column, as we all know, is AO into SRPU. I'll do one thing, I'll just write AO in the numerator, SRPU, AH into standard rate per hour, BFOH, which is equal to BFOH into AD upon BD, BFOH, and then I have AFOH. Then I have AFOH. Now, students, whatever is given in the question, which is easier first put that. A company has a normal capacity of 120 machines working 8 hours in a day of 25 days in a month. Fixed overheads are budgeted at 1,44,000 per month. The fixed overheads are budgeted at 1,44,000. This is straight away given. There's the budgeted overhead. The actual in April 21, the company worked for 24 days of 840 hours per day and produced 5305 units worth of output. The actual fixed overheads were 1,42,000. So actual fixed overheads, I'll directly write 1,42,000. So this is very, very easy, right? Actual fixed overheads. Budgeted I have got, actual I have got. Now I want, actual output into standard rate per unit. They have given the standard time to produce one unit is 4 hours and we have produced 5305 units. We have produced what? 5305 units. Students, the budgeted overheads were what? 1,44,000. The budgeted overheads were what? 1,44,000 per month. The standard time required was 4 hours. Okay, the standard time was 4 hours and normal capacity was 120 machine, 8 hours of 25 days. Come on, let's try to calculate the budgeted hours first. How many budgeted hours were there? 120 into 8 into 25. So 24,000 hours were there. 24,000 hours were budgeted. Okay, so 24,000 hours were budgeted, and for that 24,000 hours, okay, 120 into 8 into 25. So 24,000 hours were there, of which we were expecting an expenditure of 1,44,000. So we were expecting an expenditure of 1,44,000. So 1,44,000 divided by 24,000, I get per hour expenditure is 6 rupees. What is per hour expenditure? My standard rate per hour. How I calculated total budgeted overheads 1,44,000. Budgeted overhead divided by budgeted hours, which were 24,000. So I got rupees 6 per hour is my rupees 6 per hour is my standard rate per hour. Okay, my standard rate per hour is rupees 6. Now, he has also given you that the standard time required to produce one unit is 4 hours. If for one unit you require 4 hours and for 1 hour you require 6 rupees, then standard rate per unit will be 6 rupees per hour into 4 hours is equal to 24 rupees per unit. Okay, 24 rupees per unit is the standard rate per unit. Okay, remember standard rate per hour is 6 rupees and standard rate per unit is what? 24 rupees. सर कैसे निकाला? बेटा मैंने पहले बजटेड ओवरहेड्स निकाल लिया था, जो दिया हुआ था, रादर बजटेड आवर्स निकाल लिया था और फिर डिवाइड करके मुझे रेट पर आवर मिला. तो रेट पर आवर को मैंने जितना स्टैंडर्ड टाइम लगना चाहिए, जैसे 1 मिनट को 4 घंटा लगना चाहिए और 1 घंटे का 6 रुपए होता है, तो 4 इंटू 6 24 रुपया मेरा एक यूनिट के लिए खर्चा होना चाहिए. आई हैव गॉट SRPU. Now, students, what I have to do is AO into SRPU I have to take. SRPU is 24 and AO is what? Actual output is 5305. So 5305 into SRPU, which is 24. The next one is actual hours. The company worked for 24 days of 840 machine hour per day. So 24 into 840. So actual hours is 20,160. 20,160. And what is the standard rate per hour? Rupees 6, right? So I multiplied 24 into 840. I got the answer. Then we want budgeted overhead into AD upon BD, right? We want budgeted overhead into AD upon BD. So 1,44,000 into actual days, 1,44,000 into actual days, which is 24, and budgeted days were 25. So into 24 divided by 25, I get 138 240. I get 138 240. How I have done that? 144 into 24 upon 25. Okay, actual days upon budgeted days. I got this. Now I have filled the entire column. So 5305 into 24, I get 127 320. 2160 into 6. So that is 120960. Then we have already this columns. Now, if I take the gap, this minus this will give me the capacity variance. So sorry, efficiency variance. Second minus third, capacity variance. Third minus fourth, calendar variance. Fourth minus fifth will give you the rate variance. First minus fourth, or the total of these three, volume variance, and first minus fifth will be the cost variance. I have calculated all the 5 columns, and once you calculate, you will get everything, whatever you want. So if I want the efficiency variance, just take the gap of this two. That is 6360 positive, that is favorable. If I want the capacity variance, take the gap of this two, 120960 minus 138240. So that is 17280 adverse. If I want the calendar variance, so the calendar is 5760 adverse again. If I want the rate variance, take the gap of this two, 2000 favorable. If I want volume, first minus fourth directly. So 127320 minus 1,44,000. So that is 16,680 adverse. And if I want the cost, first minus the last. $14,680 adverse. I hope everybody has understood how we have to solve. बेटा अगर क्लियर हो जाए तो डन भेज दीजिएगा प्लीज. क्लियर हो जाए तो डन भेज दीजिएगा. डन, क्लियर, ऑल गुड. अगर कोई भी क्वेरी है तो बेटा पूछिए. If you have any queries, please ask. बस ये 4 चार्ट कर लिया ना, फिनिश. बस ये 4 चार्ट कर लीजिए, डन. अपने आप ही सब कुछ हो जाएगा बेटा, अपने आप ही सब कुछ हो जाएगा, सभी चीजें क्लियर हो जाएंगी. ठीक है, कोई भी बिल्कुल दिक्कत नहीं आएगी बेटा. ये 4 चीजें आप बस अच्छे से कर लीजिए. ओके, प्लीज. Perfect, perfect. Now students, after doing all this, let's move to the last topic of your syllabus, that is budget and budgetary control. एक्चुअली सच बताऊं तो उसमें भी मुझे कुछ ज्यादा बताने जैसा है नहीं बेटा बजट में, क्योंकि बजट में एक सीक्वेंस में क्वेश्चंस चलते हैं. बराबर है, आपको एक बजट से दूसरा बजट बनाना है, दूसरे से तीसरा बनाना है, तीसरे से चौथा बनाना है, लाइक दैट. Okay, so I'll just give you a brief of budget and budgetary control. So बजट के अंदर सबसे पहले तो बजट क्या होता है, व्हाट इज बजटिंग, व्हाट इज बजटरी कंट्रोल, दिस ऑल इज गिवन, राइट? क्वांटिटेटिव एक्सप्रेशन, ओके, of a plan for a definite period of time, coordinating and making up a plan is budgeting. Budgetary control is basically where you will be using a budget to actually control that, right? Using a budget to control the respective organization, that is a budgetary control. So basically, we'll be establishing a budget, we'll be measuring the performances of the actuals with that. Okay, we'll be measuring the performances of the actual with the budget. And if everything looks good, then okay, we'll appreciate that. But if it is not, then we'll try to evaluate, okay, what are the possible reasons for that. What are the different essentials of budget? So obviously, essentials, that there should be organized structure, there should be clearly defined targets, and then there should be future periods for which we have to make that, we must define that period. Okay, they must be continuously updated for new information. Okay, there should be quantifiable, and budget should be broken into various functional budgets. Budgetary performance needs to be linked with the effective reward system, so that if the people, if the your respective, what do you say, if your respective what do you say, if your respective like employee, if he fulfills whatever his budget requirements are, then he should be appreciated for that, and he should get be rewarded for that. What are the characteristics of budget? So these are all basic thing. What are the characters? It's a written document, it's a for definite future period. Okay, it's a detailed plan of what you are going to do. It's just a way of reaching there, it's not exactly the end. Okay, it helps in planning, coordination. Okay, it is prepared in light of the past experiences, all that. What are the objectives? There are three objectives. Budgeting, for budgeting there are three objectives. One is planning, one is coordinating, and the third one is directing and controlling. The next one is advantages. Obviously, control over the expenditures, efficiency, finding deviations, effective utilization of resources. Plans, you have to, your plans will get continuously revised. Okay, standard costing can be implemented only and only if there is a set standard cost, there's set budgetary control over there. Cost consciousness is there, credit rating is there. Okay, so understand, cost consciousness will be there if there is a budgetary control. Plus, if there is a budgetary control, then credit rating you will get superior, and like that. Now there are many budgets which are actually made, but out of which, from our exam perspective, there are two things which you should normally know in this chapter. In fact, three things maximum. First thing what you should know is that there are two types of budgets on the basis of capacity. One is a fixed budget, which is a fixed capacity budget, and second is a flexible budget, which is made according to the capacity what we have produced. So this is the first thing, fixed budget and flexible budget. So maximum questions are asked on the fixed and the flexible budgets. You have to, you will be given a fixed budget, you will have to revise it and make it for the quantity what we have actually produced. That is a flexible budget. Second is a function wise budget. You will be, sales budget for only sales department, production budget for only the production department, plant utilization budget, plant material usage budget, material purchase budget, fixed overhead budget, okay, production cost budget, cost of goods sold budget, and like that. You have master budgets which will have all these functions, period wise, long term, short term, current, and all that. But understand this, amongst all of them, remember that the fixed and the flexible is the most important. Now let me show you one example based on that. Now see this, students. A factory which expects to operate at 7,000 hours at 70% capacity furnishes details. You have been provided this expenses, variable, semi-variable, and fixed. They are all at 70%. So you have to ask, you are being asked to produce a flexible budget for 80%, 90%, and 100% of the activities. The semi-variable expenses go up by 10% between 85% and 95% and by 20% above 95% activity. So for example, if you are making at 70%, variable expenses are 1260. For 80%, what will it be? 1260 divide by 70%, you'll get for 100% into 80%, like that. So I'll get easily the answers. Okay, so 1260 divided by 70 into 80, I'll get for 80%. 1260 divided by 70 into 80, 90, I'll get for 90%, like that. So variable expenses will be easily we can get like that. Fixed expenses will be fixed in all the cases, right? Fixed expenses are going to be fixed in all the cases. And semi variable, he has told you that they'll go up by 10% between 85 and 95. For 70%, if semi variable is 1200 and they go up only between 85 and 95, so for 80% it will also be the same, only 1200. For 80% also it will be the same, only 1200. But for 90%, which is between 85 and 95, this will increase by 10%. So 1200 plus 20%, it will become 1320. Similarly, for 20% above 95%, so plus 20%, 1440 for 100% capacity, like that. And this you will get, or you will obviously sales minus expenses, or you just add the expenses, like that. So understand this point. This is how you make a flexible budget. Okay, this is how you make the flexible budget. See this, in this one also they have asked you the flexible budgets for 90, 100 and all that. So they have given you somewhere the amounts will be like fixed. Okay, so they will be fixed in all the cases. Somewhere it is variable, so it will just keep on multiplying and all that, like that. So this office salary is a fixed expenditure. It will be 90,000 in maybe 90%, 100%, 110%. General expenses is 2% of sales. Sales is not fixed. If you are selling 6 lakh at 80%, so for 90%, what will be your sales? 6 lakh divided by 80 into 90. So that will be 6 lakh 75,000 into 2%. So into 2%. So that will be 13,500 of general expenses at 90%, like that. So every expense will keep on varying and so on. So these are very easy things. Okay, there's nothing difficult in this. Okay, but yes, the challenge where it will come, and I'll tell you one question, only one question. If you solve properly, okay, everything in this chapter is covered. Okay, with respect to budgets at least. And I'll tell you, students, this question, maybe question 4, you can try. This is a very big question, question number 5, very, very big question. Just we can't do all that right now. Students, I feel question number 4, if you try to do, okay, in question number 4, everything what you require from the budget thing is actually covered over here. I'll just read the question, give you a slight brief over here. A single product company estimated its quarter-wise sales for the next year as under: quarter 1, the sales are 30,000, quarter 2, the sales are 37,500, quarter 3 are 41,250, and quarter 4 are 45,000. These are the sales of the years. The opening stock of FG is 6,000 units, and the company expects to maintain the closing stock of 12,250 units at the end of the year. So, students, you have been given the opening stock of finished goods, you have been given the closing stock of finished goods, you have been given the sales of the finished goods. What will you get from this? Students, if I add sales and closing stock, I'll get my requirement. From this, if I reduce the opening stock, I'll get what is the expected production. Have you understood this? To the sales, the sales which I have to make plus the closing stock which I want. If I add this two, I'll get my total requirement of the quantity, from which reduce the opening stock, you will get the production. Students, in this one, calculate the production. Come on. Calculate what production you want. So 12,250 is the closing stock plus 30,000 plus 37,500 plus 41,250 plus 45,000 minus 6,000. Can you tell me what is your production requirement for the year? What is your production requirement for the year? So this one question, it actually helps you to understand the sequence. From sales, if I add opening closing stocks, if I adjust that, I get the production. How much production is required? With this production, what I'll do is I'll adjust like how much raw material is required, and like that. Abhijit, your answer is correct. Your answer is absolutely perfect. Come on, others, do calculate. In the sales, add the closing stock 12 to 50, subtract the opening stock 6,000. You will get what production do we have to make? Absolutely perfect, Rohit. You will get how much production is required. सही आ रहे हैं. Samita, Avisha, Sanmitha, your answers are correct. Okay, the answer is 1,60,000. The answer is 1,60,000. This is my expected production. What is the next data that has been provided? Absolutely perfect, Vaishnavi. The production pattern in each quarter is based on 80% of the sales of the current quarter and 20% of the sales of the next quarter. Okay, so companies, see what happens is how much is the company producing in the quarter? It is producing production pattern is 80% of the sales of the current quarter. Like for example, in the first quarter, what will be my production? Students, in the first quarter, what will be my production? 80% of the current quarter, so that is 24,000, and 20% of the sales of the next quarter, so iska 20%, so 37,500 into 20%, so that is 7,500 plus 24,000, so that is 31,500. That is what? 31,500. Okay, this is what? 31,500. Understand? That will be my production for the first quarter. That is going to be my production for the first quarter. How I calculated it? 80% of the sales of the current quarter and 20% of the sales of the next quarter. Okay. So similarly, students, let me ask you, how much is the production that you expect in the third quarter? Come on, students. How much is the production that you expect in the third quarter? Come on. How much production is what you are expecting in the third quarter? How much production are you expecting in the third quarter? 80% of the sales of the current quarter and 20% of the sales of the next quarter. Come on. For the third quarter, how much are you expecting? So Arya, Abhijit, your answers are correct. Rohit, Shikha, your answers are correct. Siddesh, Avisha, Sanmita, Vaishnavi, your answers are correct. The answer is 42,000. 80% of this, which is 33,000, and 20% of the next quarter, so that is 9,000. If I add this to it, is coming 42,000. Shreya, Tanushri, definitely correct. ठीक है, बहुत बढ़िया बेटा, बहुत बढ़िया. चलिए, सबका आंसर करेक्ट आ रहा है. अब हमें हमारा ये आंसर आ गया. We have got that we have to produce 1,60,000. Okay, we have understood the production pattern also. Now what they have given? The opening stock of raw materials in the beginning of year is 10,000. Closing stock of raw material is maintained at 5,000. Each unit of output requires 2 kg of raw materials. The third budget, what we want, see, we have calculated the production budget. We have calculated the what do you say, production budget over the various quarters. Okay, we have calculated the total quantity also. Now, how much is the raw material consumption budget? Raw materials consumption budget. Now, how do we calculate that raw materials consumption budget? We have to produce 1,60,000 quantity, and each unit of finished output requires 2 units. So into 2 kg. So my total raw material consumption will be 3,20,000 kgs. My total raw material consumption will be what? 3,20,000 kgs. This is my raw material consumption. Okay, this is going to be the raw material consumption, 3,20,000 kgs. Now, out of which there is an opening stock of 10,000 and closing stock of 5,000 is to be kept. Can you tell me how much quantity is to be produced? So sorry, not produced, purchased. How much quantity is to be purchased? How much quantity is to be purchased? See, 3,20,000 is my requirement of raw materials, okay, of which 10,000 is already there in the stocks, and I also want 5,000 in the closing stock to be there. So how much raw materials to be purchased? कितना खरीदना पड़ेगा? Come on, calculate. अभिजीत, check your answer again. आर्य, आपका आंसर सही है? So the formula what I'll use over here is, this is my requirement, okay, this is my consumption going to be. Shikha, your answer is correct. So this plus the closing stock minus opening stock will give me 3,15,000 kgs. This is what I need to purchase. This is what I need to purchase. The formula will be, raw material to be purchased is basically requirement for production, yeah, material to be consumed plus closing stock minus opening stock will give you material to be purchased during the year. Material to be purchased during the year. Shikha, Abhijit, Rohit, your answers are correct. That will be 3,15,000. So 3,20,000 plus this 10, plus this 5,000 minus this 10,000. Okay, like I have to consume 3,20,000 plus 5,000 also I want, so I require total 325, out of which 10,000 is already there with me in the stocks. Okay, so my total requirement for purchases will be like 15,000. Now after that he has given my entire purchases. I'm going to purchase 30% in the first quarter, 50% in the second, and the 20% in the third quarter. So what I'll do is, so like I want to purchase 3,15,000 into 30%. So in the first quarter, I'll purchase 94,500 kgs. Similarly, I'll purchase 157,500 in the second quarter, and so on like that. Okay, so this is how you have to actually make these things. From the sales budget, you will understand how much is the production expected. From the production, you will require the raw material consumption budget. From the raw material consumption budget, you will get the raw material purchase budget. From the raw material purchase budget, you will make the purchase on the various places. You require the cost budget like that. Okay, so all budgets are always interrelated. Start from one budget, get an answer, go to the next budget, get an answer, go to the third budget, and so on. This is how it works. So budgetary control is a chapter which will be solved normally in this way only. Okay, and there is just one more concept pending in this one, and that is this ratios. No doubt there are concepts like zero-based budgeting, again re-evaluating each and everything. Okay, re-evaluating each and everything, like whatever the budget was there last year, just ignore that. Again, try to justify why we are spending on that. So that is zero-based budgeting, assuming there is no base. Again, redefine each and every element. Again, redefine why you have to spend the money on that. Performance budgeting, whatever objectives we have set, check whether whatever the goals we have achieved, whether they were matching with what we should have got, like that. So performance budgeting, and there are some budget ratios. So these are the 6 budget ratios which you should know. Okay, this is the last topic of the actually chapter. Efficiency ratio, standard hour upon actual hour. Activity ratio, standard hour upon budgeted hour. Calendar ratio, available working days upon budgeted working days. Standard capacity usage ratio, budgeted hours upon maximum possible hours. Actual capacity usage ratio, actual hours upon maximum possible working hours. Actual capacity usage of the budgeted capacity ratio, actual working hours upon budgeted hours into 100, like that. So understand, like that, each and every ratio is there. What you have to do is, in the question, just identify what is standard, what is budgeted, what is actual days, what is budgeted hours, what is maximum possible hours. Just identify all that, put it in the formulas, done. You'll directly get the answer. There's only one question in your study material which you can definitely try on your own. If you face any difficulties, you can definitely connect with me at any time. Okay, so that is not a problem. See this is one question, okay, where you can easily calculate all the ratios. Like I can get the efficiency, activity. I just have to use this formulas. I just have to use this formulas. That's it. Just use the formula. All the R's are already given over there. Standard R's is there, and standard R's is there, budgeted R's is there, actual R is there, and all that. Maximum possible R's. Just to calculate, and then you can easily get the answers and all that. Okay, so this is all over here. And then one more thing which was there, and that is the theory part. Okay, there's a theory part. Before going to that, if you will see your notes properly, there are some RTPs, MTPs which have been given, but they are not of the recent papers. Okay, I'll specify it very clearly. They are not of the recent papers. They are in fact 1 or 2 years back. Okay, so they are not that relevant for you. Okay, as I have already told you. One more thing is now the theory part. Students, theory part is what? Like I know you have already done with the theories. Okay, theory is not that difficult for you. What is the cost center? What is the cost unit? And what are the cost units that you will use? So there's not a big problem as such, because once you actually start doing all that, you automatically start getting up all the concepts and all that. Okay, so that's not a problem. Okay, so what I'll be doing is I'll be sharing the theory questions. Okay, actually the theory notes, in fact, I've already shared with you. You can see over here. If you face any difficulties in this too, you can definitely connect with me, not a problem. Because इसमें कुछ मेरे लिए ज्यादा है नहीं बेटा बात करने के लिए. Like we have to revise the concepts and all that. इसमें कुछ भी नया नहीं है, ये सब नॉर्मल वही फेको फेको पॉइंट्स है. तो व्हाट यू शुड डू इज आपको वही क्वेश्चंस को इसमें पक्का करना चाहिए जो ज्यादा आते हैं. Costing is a practical subject, it's not a theory subject at all. Okay, remember that costing is a practical subject. तो आप यहाँ पे वही क्वेश्चंस को पक्का करो जो एग्जाम में सबसे ज्यादा आते हैं. ठीक है, जो रिसेंट आरटीपी एमटीपी में वगैरह आपको जो दिख रहा है ना, बस उतना पक्का कर लो. दैट इज मोर देन इनफ फॉर अस. दैट इज मोर देन इनफ फॉर अस. So in this crash batch, in this crash course, we have revised everything. Okay, okay, except for this theory, obviously. Okay, theory क्योंकि ये इसमें आप आराम से कर सकते हैं. मैं आपको कुछ बताऊंगा यहाँ पे, तो आपको भी पकेगा कि यार ये तो सब आता है अपने को. व्हाट इज मटेरियल, व्हाट इज लेबर, व्हाट इज ओवरहेड एंड ऑल दैट. ठीक है, व्हाट इज कंट्रोलेबल, व्हाट इज अनकंट्रोलेबल एंड ऑल दैट. ओके, so this all normally okay, that is why we haven't spent time on that, and intentionally I skipped it in the first one because I knew you already are aware of this. Out of which only this concept of responsibility centers, there are 4 responsibility centers, like cost center which is assigned the responsibility of cost, revenue centers who are assigned with the responsibility of generating sales, like ticket counters, profit centers which have been like decentralized branches of organizations, they have been assigned with the task of generating profits. Investment centers are like the companies like Maharatna, Miniratna, Navratna of the governments. Okay, so they have to generate the profits also, they have to generate rate of return also on their investments. So these are responsibility center. This is one important concept over there. Cost object is one important concept. Cost object, what is cost object? Basically, for what you are calculating the cost is the cost object. Okay, for whatever you are calculating the cost is actually the cost object. Now after that students, once you have got this cost object and all that, there is one more concept over there, and that is with respect to cost unit. Now what are the different cost units? Like we have already seen, like for transport we require ton kilometers, passenger kilometers. For bricks you require 1000 bricks. Okay, for steel you require ton. Okay, and ton or maybe kgs or like that. Okay, so this cost unit is one more topic which is actually relevant. It's not over here, but it is there in your notes. Okay, so definitely do this concept very properly, especially the cost unit one. Okay, which is important one, which is very important. Okay, so this is where your entire syllabus actually gets completed. Do keep practicing, do keep learning. I hope you have liked the revision and it was helpful for you in revising all the concepts. Still, if you face some difficulties, you can always get in touch with us, okay, and ask whatever your queries you may have. Okay, thank you so much for joining me over here in this revision. Share the videos with all of your friends and all that who are looking for this. Okay, thank you so much. It was really nice teaching you again. So we have covered each and every concept, right? Each and every concept well in quite depth, I feel. Okay, which is actually required for your exam perspective. Thank you so much. Hopefully, I see all of you passing the exam. Okay, and please do keep messaging me कि आपका कैसा चल रहा है, क्या चल रहा है, preparation and all that. ठीक है, और जब भी रिजल्ट आए एग्जाम्स के पहले डू गेट इन टच. ओके, सो रिमेंबर दैट, है ना. चलिए, जब भी रिजल्ट आए डेफिनेटली एक बार बेटा मेरे साथ रिजल्ट जरूर शेयर कर लीजिएगा. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I wish you all the very, very best for your future studies and for the upcoming exams. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. ठीक है, all the best. All the best. Take